Well, I
not,
do
and if
because
you
of the
were
way
in the
it conforms to my
if you-
values, but I'm not making an external claim when I call it wrong. That's why my
I'm gonna go
worldview
wreck this
is,
idiot.
is much more parsimonious because I acknowledge the fact that you can't prove external moral facts, right? So
yeah, you can say that. Okay, it will be objective to us because
you're just a
not
cock
us.
to God's mind.
Okay,
and I
hate to,
Go-
hate to break
Ghost,
this up.
Ghost.
Just pause for a
Let
moment
me-
here. We're gonna bring
No
someone
worries.
new on the stage.
No worries, no
Steelborn. Welcome
we
to the
doing?
stage,
Yes.
Steelborn. Good to see
Yeah,
you.
let
Thanks
me-
for joining.
What's up? Welcome,
Continue.
welcome.
Just to explain that to you, it will be subjective to God because we're talking about his being, but it will be objective to you because he is not your being.
Yeah, so why should I hold to God's morality, and why would that be objective?
Because you're his subject.
What do you mean I'm his subject?
Yes,
I don't know what that means.
you're under his will.
And why should that mean that I'm obligated to hold to it? I assume you imagine that humans
You're
have
not
free will. I
obligated
assume
because you
believe
have
that.
free will. Thus, it's not a but you ought to do it. This is
Why
this is
ought I do it?
moral claim. Because you ought act in accordance to what is good.
That's a circle.
No.
Wait,
that's not
how
a
do you know what
circle.
good is?
That's
Wait,
a
what
way
is
to
good?
act. You can
Wait.
act in accordance to what is bad, right? But you ought to act, so you are supposed to do what is good. That's the point.
So you're saying that I ought do what is good, and good is what I ought do?
No, what I'm saying, it's a simple statement. You ask me why should I act this way? It's because you ought to
It's
act in
good,
accordance to
okay.
what is good. Yeah,
Okay, and why is what God wants good?
because he is the ultimate justification of what good is.
Okay, can you ultimately justify that for me?
Yeah, have you ever heard of the transcendental argument?
Yeah, I've heard of the transcendental arguments.
Okay, how can you please tell me the transcendental argument?
Like just this idea that like in order to ground certain necessary truths, like it needs to be grounded in some type of like immaterial like lawgiver.
No,
or
I
whatever.
don't-
No,
I'm not
that's not the
asking you to
transcendental
tell me-
argument.
I'm not asking you to tell me of the transcendental argument. Can you tell me the transcendental argument?
Well, like lay it out in like a syllogism. I mean, I don't know if I could do that. I could probably find it, and we
Okay.
can go over it if you like. I mean, I'm asking you about your worldview. Look, like
Yeah, my
I'm not
worldview
saying
is
I
based on
have
the
strong
transcendental
views on like.
argument.
Okay, well,
That's what I'm
present to
asking
me.
you. If you know it, I don't need to do it. If you don't know it, just say I don't know it. It's fine.
Well, I've heard of it because I've had the discussion before about transcendental arguments, but I wouldn't be able to like formalize it into like a syllogism or whatever. Like we'd have to like go over it. But I mean,
yeah, well,
look,
do you think
let-
concepts are mind dependent?
do I think concepts are mind dependent? Yeah, I'd say
Yes.
they seem to be, or at least,
Okay.
yeah, I would say they
Are
seem
there-
to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there concepts that are true that are not dependent upon your mind or any particular mind?
There might be.
Like the laws of logic.
That might be. Like
Yeah,
like 2 + 2 = 4. Is 2 + 2 = 4 true to me and to you and to every mind? Even if no mind existed, you would say 2 + 2 = 4.
Yeah, that could be the case. I mean, I'm agnostic to it because I don't know what my metaphysics are yet. I'm still reading about metaphysics.
Can you
so-
please answer yes or no? Like what the
I'm
fuck? are
sorry
you
that I don't
doing
have
here?
the rigid answer that you want me.
No, fine,
to have,
fine, perfect.
but I'm just
Okay,
saying I'm
you don't
agnostic to it.
Okay, you're agnostic. Okay, shut the fuck up then, because you don't have a
Oh,
position.
why are you being so
I
rude?
grant you your ignorance.
angry that
If you want to
I'm
be an
agnostic?
ignorant bitch about it, then I grant it. You are an ignorant bitch about it, and you can be an ignorant bitch about
Are
it.
you
It's
getting
fine.
mad because like you didn't know what deontology was, or why are you mad?
No, he's never heard the term
Deontic.
deontic.
Okay, well that's a
I
bit
wanted to
embarrassing.
be sure
Okay,
that
that's
I
fine.
was being correct in how I was.
Coming from the guy who doesn't have his metaphysics figured out.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm
okay,
sorry
look,
I don't
guys.
have all the
Okay, wait,
philosophy
wait.
solved,
Okay,
but-
guys, look. I disagree with Ghost fundamentally, but he does have the balls to come up here, and there are 2 of you and 1 of him. So let's just take turns and not try to dogpile, okay?
I haven't even started arguing yet. Come on, Mo.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, just trying to get it off of the pass here. But yeah, I mean, stillborn. If you have something you would like to go back and forth with on Ghost,
Well,
maybe this would be a good time.
again, if you cannot answer simple questions like that, and you say, well, I'm agnostic.
Simple
so I
questions like,
don't
what's your
know.
entire metaphysical worldview? Yeah, that's so simple, dude.
No, simple questions ask, is 2 + 2 = 4?
Well, it could be
for
the case that you
every
hold to a
person?
nominalist view, and in that case, 2 + 2 actually would be dependent
Yeah.
on some type of.
Well, hold on.
physical
If you hold to a
substrate.
nominalist view, then you wouldn't actually be able to know fucking anything, and you wouldn't be able to know nominalism is true.
That might be the case, but I'm just saying that there are examples of worldviews that don't necessarily
that-
entail
well,
that like.
Do you
2 + 2
okay?
is
Do you agree
always
that some
true.
worldviews are self-refuting? Like if you hold the view that if you say
Maybe-
all
maybe
truth,
I'd
or you
have
say
to
all
look
truth
into
is
it then,
subjective.
yeah.
If somebody says all truth is subjective, do you see how what the problem with
Yeah,
that statement is?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
remember when
probably problematic. Maybe, yeah, sure.
It's
Like, but- but
self-refuting.
I'm-
That's a universal
I'm-
truth
I'm-
claim.
I'm just saying. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that I have not
Remember-
looked into like every
No,
metaphysical worldview. So,
Yeah,
like,
you
I
will
haven't done
never
a
do it,
substantial
by the
amount of
way.
research. Why
You will
not?
never do it. Anyway.
I'm enjoying learning about philosophy right now.
Okay, so one last thing. Remember when I told you that it becomes absurd? So in your
Not this.
worldview, you just said that 2 + 2 = 5, so it's an absurdity. That's the point that I was going to go for. So
okay.
it doesn't even matter when it comes to that because you don't have a position, you don't have a knowledge. Okay, I grant you your ignorance. So if you cannot even answer their simple questions, I would recommend you to go find something that you can answer if 2 + 2 = 4. At with, even
Talking about
without-
ghost
I
accent
came
or
here to
talking about
debate
Evan's
abortion.
accent?
I'm sorry I wasn't
I don't know which
prepared to
one
have a
you're
debate
talking
with you on metaphysics. Okay.
No, that's fine.
Listen, if you want to
talked about
concede
what's
the
good and
abortion
evil,
debate,
so
talk about metaphysics.
Okay,
we
so
can
hold
do
on.
that
Do you want me to
another day.
explain the like? Do you want me to explain? There's a fundamental difference between both of your between your two worldviews. So Emmett has what's called a theonomist epistemology. Our worldview comes top down, right? It comes. So we start with the foundation of God, and then we like our comes top. You do what's called. You have an autonomous epistemology that your mind is the ultimate referent for whatever knowledge is. So in any type of metaphysical category.
I'll be back.
So the point where what the entailment of this is that you have to do what's called system building, where you go like, I don't know my metaphysics yet, but metaphysics are going to be are going to necessarily be tied to your epistemology, which is going to necessarily be tied to your metaethics, right? These things are not like philosophy
Yeah, I
doesn't
know
exist
these
in a
things can
vacuum.
interplay, yeah. Yeah, I understand that these things can interplay with each other.
No, not interplay. They
Um,
don't exist in a vacuum at all. You can't distinguish any of them. Literally, it's not possible to actually
Well,
actually
you can
separate them.
obviously distinguish them insofar as we can categorize them differently. But if what you mean is that obviously to have a holistic worldview, you're going to have to take into account your metaphysics, your metaethics.
Yeah, you have to
maybe,
have
unless
all
you're
of
just
them.
like a complete moral nihilist. And your what's the other one? Fucking epistemology and so on. I agree with everything you're saying. I'm just saying, look, like I came here because I thought that Mo's arguments against this other girl who was ironically called Ghost. Funnily enough, I didn't notice that until afterwards. Like, I thought that his arguments were a little bit shaky, and I just wanted to bring about what I thought was a better account. Now, it could be the case that my metaphysics is cooked, but ultimately, I am here to debate abortion, and I don't mind the conversation flowing a little bit.
That's actually what I
but,
came up
like,
to talk about.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, if you want to talk about abortion within my worldview in terms of my ethical view, then I'm more than happy to do that. But like, you know, this idea that we're gonna like branch off onto like every single like, you know, how do you know your
No, I'm not gonna
epistemological
go into. I'm not
foundation of all
gonna.
of reality. Like, okay, dude.
Look, I'm not gonna Socrates you and be like, how do you know this? I'm not gonna Jordan Peterson. Well, what do you mean by that? I'm not quite sure. No, I'm not gonna do that shit.
Yeah,
But like,
exactly.
what does what mean? No, no. So I actually listened to the entire. Do me a favor. Can you
Doesn't work
like Down
mine,
syndrome?
I mean, oh yeah, no, they're not gonna think exactly like I do,
Demonstrate
but
that
they are.
demonstrate that their thoughts aren't just like yours.
What type of standard would you be looking for to demonstrate that?
However the fuck you could demonstrate it. You're the one who just said that that's different.
Well, I need to know what your standard of proof is.
Why do you need to know
through what lens?
Dude, it's your claim. I asked, can
It's your
you
question.
demonstrate this is the case? That's what I asked you. Can you demonstrate this is the case? You said yes. Okay, okay, do it.
Inductively.
However the
deductively,
fuck
like-
you want to do it.
Okay, yeah, sure. So inductively, it seems to be the case that the experiences that I have are tied to my ability to interact with the world in a certain way, right? Like that seems to be true from my own experience. And from that, I can look at other people, right? And in the same way, I can look at you and say, you're a person that's having a qualitative experience right now and interacting with the world. I can look at a Down syndrome person and say a similar thing, but I notice that the way they're interacting with the world is very, very different. From brain scans, we can see how their brains might differ from like, you know, a more like typical brain. We can see how chromosomes can affect people's like, you know, development and so on. And from all
That's
of this,
not
I make
answering to the
inductive
question that I
case.
actually asked. You said so you can. So what you
You said-
demonstrated
you
is that
said
their
I was
brain
okay
works
to give an
differently.
inductive case,
You
and
can
I did do
demonstrate
that.
that their brain works differently. That doesn't actually show that their mind works differently.
Well, I mean, if you take the view that like the mind comes from the brain in some
Yeah,
way.
I know. I reject that categorically. There's no way to demonstrate the mind is the brain.
Okay, well, I think we can make an inductive case.
The mind.
that-
So you're
that
saying the mind comes from the brain, or like the mind is what the brain does?
Yeah, it seems to come from the brain. Whether or not it's material
So
or
the mind- so the
immaterial
mind is an
obviously
action.
a hard problem, but I don't know what you mean by I don't know what you take an action to be.
If the mind is what the brain does, then mind would be an action. It would be something. It would be
Well, I
doing
don't-
something.
Well, in the same way that like an acorn does fall from a tree. I don't know if that's an action. I mean, sure, yeah, I suppose so.
But you're saying that the mind is the brain taking an action, unless you're a determinist.
Well, the brain is generating some type of experience. So I would say if you want to call that an action, then you can.
The brain is generating the experience.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, we can see.
So
that the
hold on. So
is
my
having
brain
some
is
type of
generating my
electrical,
experiences right now.
That seems to be the case, yeah. Because when you,
Really?
when
Because I
you
see
go
all
on
this
con-
shit that seems to exist that it would still exist if I didn't exist. So how is my brain generating
That's not
this?
whoa! That's not what I said. I didn't say that your brain is generating the physical world around you. I'm saying that your brain is generating your perceptual sense of the physical world around you, and it's generating your internal qualitative state. That's what I said.
Okay, so we're gonna move. So we're moving into empiricism.
Empiricism. I mean, I'm just saying that like it seems to be the case that we can make an inductive case that the brain at least has something to do with the type of consciousness that we experience, right? Like, do you disagree with that? Like, do you think that you, me, and a rock share the same level of consciousness or the same type of consciousness?
Rock,
Or would
no.
just
You
say,
and
I
I,
have
yes.
no idea. Wait, why the rock? No.
Cause I can't. I can't demonstrate that the rock has a mind. But from my view, rock is a material thing. It's not. It's not a. It's not.
Okay.
It's not. It doesn't have personhood. It doesn't have
Can you
ensoulment.
justify that?
That rocks don't have souls.
No, that they don't have a conscious experience. They might not have souls.
But you
but-
need to
but
have a
can
mind in order.
demonstrate
You
that?
need to have a mind in order to have a consciousness.
What is a mind?
So from my view, the mind would be the immaterial part of a from my view, persons. It would be the immaterial way in which we interact with the metaphysical.
Okay.
Or the means by
so if
which
it's
we do it.
immaterial, so why can't rocks have this? Just because I mean it's immaterial, so a rock could have it, right?
If you're asking me to demonstrate that a rock doesn't have a mind, I didn't make the claim that rocks don't have minds. I said I don't think they do.
One second, guys. There's someone backstage.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Nat Leo, can you give me like a peace sign or something to show? Your camera's kind of like wobbly, or I don't see what it's pointing to. Can you like show yourself on camera? Just want to make sure that you're, person. You can turn the camera off once you come up stage if you want. Yeah, I don't know. Their camera's out. Continue, guys.
So my question for you guys is, have you ever heard of a condition called locked-in syndrome?
It does ring a bell.
Yeah,
I'll
locked-in
have to look
syndrome,
into-
as far as all testing shows, the person is effectively brain dead.
Okay.
But they're not. They're still fucking alive. They're conscious. They can think. They're aware of
Okay,
everything
okay,
happening
just-
around them.
Sorry, just 1 second. Okay, Nat, I can see you. If you want to turn your camera off, you can come on stage. Just, try to keep to TOS, okay?
How do you know they can think?
Because there's people who have locked-in syndrome who have actually learned to talk again and to communicate.
Okay, well, how do you know they could think before that?
Because
when
they
they were
said that
showing
they
the
were
doctors.
said that they were conscious the entire time and they were aware of everything that was happening around them.
Okay.
They had
so you're
they had
basic-
sense data and sense experience.
Okay, so you're saying that like they have testimony obviously of their own experience. Like they're reporting to you that they've had an experience, and obviously you believe them, which is fair enough. Now, I guess
It's not that just I agree with them. The doctors who also treated them agree with them.
Wait, how would the doctors know?
I'm saying the doctors agree with them.
So the doctors just take their word for it without any evidence.
Well, no, it's not without any evidence. They've been asked questions like, like, do you know what the name of your doctor was? Because usually these people come in after like a car crash and like that, and they'll be brought into the hospital, essentially like to the doctors unconscious. They'll be brought, and
Okay.
like they'll be able to tell, like they'll be able to tell stuff like what the doctors were doing, who was my main nurse, who was my doctor, and most of them they can't talk, but they learned another way of communicating. Like one of them, I think,
So
learned
how
to.
are they able to remember that? How are they able to? And you're going to say because they're conscious, and I'm going to ask you, well, how are they retaining certain memories? Because we know what parts of the brain are responsible for retaining memories. We know what parts of the human body are responsible. Like, for example, you said they remember the doctor's name, so they heard the doctor's name. So a sound went into their eardrum, bounced off their pinna, went into their eardrum, was interpreted through their cochlea, and sent as a signal into the brain. So this is the scientific process of what happens when we hear information.
Yes,
So
very good.
that's how
I can read some
yeah.
science textbooks too, buddy.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I didn't need to because I actually read it before. Okay. So this is what happens, right? So I'm just wondering, you don't think that this has anything to do with the fact they can hear, though. You think it's just some magical immaterial substrate.
No, I think that the problem with this idea of the mind is what the brain does can't actually be demonstrated, right? And these people who, according to all brain scans, are fucking dead. They are literally brain dead. We don't actually know how many times that we've harvested organs of people who were still alive, right? Because of how complicated locked-in syndrome is.
Well, what you're saying doesn't seem to be true, because I just Googled locked-in syndrome, and it says that it's a rare neurological disorder where a person is fully conscious and cognitively intact, but experiences near total paralysis. So it seems like the parts of their brain necessary for the conscious experience actually are intact. So can you find me someone that has reported having memories or some type of conscious experience that they can recall where their brain has been either not intact or severely damaged and then repaired or anything like this?
Yeah, so most of the people who come in with locked-in syndrome. Hold on, I think Nat Leo has a really bad echo.
Yeah, Nat, you got a really bad echo. I muted you. Just unmute whenever.
Make sure. Hold on. So real quick, Nat, if you join in the StreamYard, check if you still have. If you're on like a computer or something, check if you still have the YouTube stream open. If so, close that out. That's a nice dresser.
Yeah. All right, continue.
So the people who usually locked-in syndrome is usually the result of somebody who gets into a traumatic accident, usually like car crash or falling off a building, something along those lines, right? And they sustain severe neurological damage. According to brain scans, they should not be able to have any kind of a conscious experience.
Okay, what brain scan are you referring to? Can I read about this?
Yeah, let me pull up some studies for you, or at least some. I'm not sure if I can necessarily find a study because it is a rare condition for sure, but
I'm just wondering what's motivating this view.
The fallacy, the problem with the argument about the life begins at conception is that, it doesn't make sense. First off, the way that they start counting pregnancy, it's 2 weeks before actual conception. They start from the first day of your last period, number one.
Because
Number
we can't
two,
it's very hard to actually document when conception happens. Like it's hard to actually track that.
I'm aware of that. But it only happens, the egg can only implant 2 weeks out of the 2 days out of the month. So most fertilized eggs get washed out through a regular, the period process, unless it's those 2 days that they're fertile, and sperm can stay in the woman's body for 6 days and 6 days afterwards. So your idea that life begins at conception means that every woman that's ever had a period is a murderer.
That doesn't follow.
Yeah,
It
doesn't follow.
Yeah, I don't think that follows. Unfortunately, as much as I agree with your pro-choice position, presumably, I don't agree with that, because obviously, I mean, look, life starting at conception is just merely a scientific process. Just because it's hard to track, that doesn't necessarily mean that life doesn't start. And obviously, when it comes to murderers, I mean, having a period is just like a natural consequence of like your body. It's not something you can control. And obviously, if you're having a period, then you're not going to be like bleeding out a dead baby or whatever. So like, so none of this is really too much of a problem for the pro-life view.
It does, though, because if life begins at conception, that means that women that have natural periods, because And 1 in 4 pregnancies end in a miscarriage, by the way. And so where it doesn't implant pregnancy.
That's
And
true.
then there's also a time where it implants into ectopic pregnancy where that pregnancy is not viable at all.
It's also true. Yeah.
Oh, wait,
When
Well,
we
then-
say
hold
that
on.
life begins
So
at
it-
conception, we're making a moral point on when this thing becomes an entity that is going to eventually become a fully formed human.
It's not even a moral claim. It's actually an ontological claim.
Well, yeah, I was taking the stance for
I get what
this.
you're
I
saying,
didn't
yeah.
go too much in ontologically, but I was taking more of a biology stance on this to not go into, religious ethics or that sort of thing. But
But can I
so
Oh, sorry, you finish.
yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to press you on that a little bit because, it seems like you're saying, okay, human life starts at conception. Humans are valuable because they're human, but then you keep kind of slowly hinting to this idea that the human will develop into something more. So, what if we take a case where the
fully
human...
developed
Well, no, that's not ultimately. I think this is where I think Mo really messed up in his argument was, humans aren't valuable because they're humans. Humans are valuable because they're made in the image of God. That's the distinguishing. That's from our worldview.
I'm
Is
sure
what
that's
gives
what he
it what puts them
believes,
in the
sure.
distinction.
I think
Well,
he just didn't want to invoke religion into the argument.
I didn't invoke yet. I was
You
putting
don't
that
want to
aside
do
for this
that
particular
because
debate.
I can bring up Bible quotes where they.
Oh my God, you're gonna quote scripture at me that you don't have the authority to interpret and actually tell me how it was supposed to be interpreted. Good
I
job.
don't have authority to read the Bible.
No, you don't have the authority to tell me what the Bible's
The
supposed to
bitter
mean.
waters. I don't have that authority.
No.
I love that.
So-
No,
so
I'm
what-
sorry.
This
You're
is
not
why-
you're not the apostolic historical
This is
church.
why I
Sorry,
didn't
I don't
bring
care
it
about your
up.
interpretation of scripture.
Yeah, I know.
So-
Because I'd have to get into all of this.
Yeah, we don't need to
But
go into...
Abortion is
we
okay in
do
the
have
Old
someone
Testament.
backstage. Hold on. We do have someone
You can
backstage.
go ahead. You can go
Welcome,
ahead.
Elder Lion, to the
What's
show.
up? I'm here to
Uh,
no think Max. I need to learn from this panel. I need to.
Oh,
well,
okay.
2 people.
Got it.
Well, 3 people are really giving me this example of how to think, and I don't like it. We need more no think Maxing. Nat Leo, please continue.
Yeah.
I forgot where I was because you joined someone in. But basically, if you want to, equate, like I think Ghost argument is completely logical. He bases his moral worth based on consciousness, and he proves that by the biological explanation of when the certain synapses in your brain develop consciousness, and that's in line with the Roe versus Wade decision and viability and personhood.
Thank you. I've just lost so many brain cells that,
Based.
like,
I mean, hey, she's right about
enjoy
that
it.
one. Amen, sister. I don't agree with the
I
conception
enjoy it.
argument, but you're so right that my
Well,
argument was
with
based. I agree with you on
consciousness
that.
as a moral, like,
He'll take the win
if
where he
you're
can.
if you're just defining everything
thanks
as
for that.
moral because consciousness is kind of a reduction of of retardation. But Rita, I'm really learning not to think, and I thank you guys. I appreciate you, Emmett. We're gonna make you a no think Maxer soon. Stillborn, I think you think too much.
I
don't
do.
know if can make you not
I
think.
look. Plato and Socrates come to me and they're like, "Hey man, you want to go out thinking tonight?" And I'm like, "Fuck, I was thinking so much last night."
Yeah, it's the thinking hangover is pretty horrible.
It's
You
bad.
You gotta get rid of it. Yeah. And Mo, one day you'll become a no think Maxer too. Well, everybody.
I aim to achieve that one day in my life.
yes, it's
Is
great.
this a similar? Is this like a similar like moral goal as like heaven maxing?
Well, it's well, the best example I could give it is I stumbled upon a person who gave me the philosophical argument for Christian retard maxing. Like, stop thinking about it so much. Just do the shit. Go to church. Be a part of it. Stop thinking so damn much. So this is.
I got a guy in
this
my
is
chat. He
life.
says Plato told me to think
This
one
is-
time, so I became.
Yeah.
So this is the life I
throw
live.
your thinking out the door, especially when you're
Yeah,
religious.
because
That
if I
makes
if I
perfect
think
sense.
so
That
much,
makes
I have to
perfect
no.
sense.
If I think so much that I have to justify the murdering of children, then yeah, I think no think maxing is probably.
Hold on,
look,
hold
I
on a
mean,
second, hold on a
like,
second. I want to
if-
address
if-
what she just said. Hold on. Did you say that like if you're religious, you just inherently throw out your ability to think?
Yeah,
Really?
basically.
Well, there,
You sure you really want to go down that road?
Well, no, we could stay with the prompt. Like, if you want to go down that road, I honestly believe
This is
that
open
it was
panel. The
Yeah,
prompt's out the
very-
window.
Well, real quick,
Yeah.
real quick. I mean, look, like you clearly are exercising your no thinking philosophy if you think that, you know, that the conversation is reducible to just like, oh yeah, people want to murder children. I think that clearly,
Yeah.
that
And they
there's a
use
nuance. Yeah,
something
there's a-
stupid like consciousness to do that.
Yeah, they use something stupid like sophisticated, like philosophical accounts of
Sophisticated, okay.
identity. Oh,
Yeah, you're super
no.
sophisticated.
Oh no, I hate it when people use
Sophisticated.
like accounts of identity that I don't
Yeah, you know
understand
all
from
the big
philosophers
words.
I've
You're
never
really
heard
fancy.
of. I'd rather just keep not thinking. I mean,
You
keep it
got
up.
all these
Ray,
big
doing a good
fancy
job.
words. Ooh. Oh wow, you're
I
so
mean,
cool.
I know.
You waste your
But-
time. You waste your time literally building your own coffin. It's really cool. It's really awesome.
Well, I mean, look, you can say that, but under my worldview,
Yeah.
I don't want rape camps
Under
where
your
women are
worldview,
forced to have sex to increase
under your
birth
world-
rates. Okay, so my worldview
Yeah,
is
no,
clearly more
who wants
possible.
that?
He finds
Well,
he's
it's
trying to
entailment in
explain
those
that
views.
it's the equivalent of having rape camps. Because
Yeah,
you're
under
taking
your
women's
world,
bodily
under your
autonomy.
worldview, we could
That's
justify that
your
completely.
worldview.
It would be so easy. It'd be so
Oh
easy.
no,
to
under my
justify that in
worldview
your
you
worldview.
couldn't because I have my own normative ethics. But maybe
No,
if
you
you
don't
were to
have any
take my
ethics.
meta
No, no,
ethics
You have
and then
nothing.
establish
You
different
have
ones.
nothing.
Now, I
Hold
know
on,
that
hold on a
it's
sec,
gonna
hold on a
be
sec, hold on a
easy.
sec,
Oh
hold
my
on a sec.
God,
Let me
Let me
oh,
address
man,
this thing that
that
Ghost
was
keeps saying. Ghost, hold on. Are your
Yeah.
ethics subject to change?
Are they subject to change? I don't know. It probably depends on like. It could be the case that my like sentimental attitudes towards certain moral scenarios could change. That's true. But I think
Would
that
this
there
change
is
be based
something
on what
quite
you would,
fundamental in that.
so when you make this change, the reason you would do
Yeah.
that change is because the thing that you preferred, which you know you've been convinced out of, or you no longer prefer this thing. So now the thing that is moral is what you do prefer.
Yep. I mean, the morality would just be an expression of my value judgments, and if my value judgments change, then so would my morals. Yep,
Okay,
that's
great.
fine.
So I have a question for you. Do you prefer chocolate or vanilla ice cream?
I prefer chocolate.
I
But it
prefer
doesn't
curb
have
stomping
any milk.
toddlers.
Okay, that's fine. But one of them is a normative claim, and one of them is a.
It wasn't
is
no.
kind
There
of
was no
like a-
normative claim there at all. Where was the normative? Where did the ought claim come in?
Oh, okay. My apologies. So you're just saying that that's just something you like to do.
It's just my preference, and I should do what I prefer, right? I mean, like,
Oh, so now there's a normative claim.
I'm asking you. It's like, shouldn't we do what we prefer to do? Because that's what's moral. Yuck, yuck.
No, that's not my worldview.
Really?
No, you should do what I prefer. That's my worldview.
Oh, well, then I think, well, you should do what I prefer. This is now we're equal.
Okay, well, yeah, that's fine. That's fine by me. Again, this is like Emmett 2.0. This is just like, oh my god, guys, subjectivity means I can have opinions that murder
subjectivity
bad.
just means to the
Like, yes, this is not a smart reductio.
No, the
Like, you
entailment
haven't
of
blown water
the entailment
out
of subjectivism is that it
moral
leads to
thinking.
relativism. Relativism means that you lost the debate. That's what relativism
Okay,
means.
Like,
You know-
relativism leads to chaos.
You know,
Okay, I get
we're
it,
forgetting
but-
something. If you guys want to prevent abortions and the murder of babies, what we can do, and you guys don't care about bodily autonomy, we just force
No.
all men to get vasectomies. There you go. No abortion. Yay!
No, hold on. There's a difference between. Hold on, hold on. So real quick,
Wait,
Natalia, hold on.
If that is the case, wait. If that is the case, then it can be the case then that we just put you guys in cages instead, right? We put every girl in cage.
Yeah, we could just
so
do
they
that.
cannot have an abortion.
And that's what Mo wants to do, so that we can increase the birth rate.
Yeah, that's
See,
fine.
they
That-
proved- they
this
proved
checks
the
out.
You see,
point.
you
There
see
you
how
go.
anything is fine in that case? Like, you don't give a shit about bodily autonomy. I don't
You
give a shit
understand that
about
this is
bodily
how the
autonomy.
world
Those
works,
only
right?
go
There are
That's the
people with all
point
sorts of
And
different
about
moral
bodily
views.
autonomy.
Wait.
Do we
okay.
understand? Hold on, hold on.
Your body,
Men are better
your
at
my
force.
choice.
Do we
until
understand-
it's your own body?
Do we understand that might makes? Yes, absolutely, might makes.
Well,
Nobody's
there
gonna
you
disagree with that.
go. Okay. Well, that's what my point is. I don't really know what else is.
So since might makes, Ghost, would you agree with me that in generally speaking, men are stronger than women?
Yep.
Okay. So would you agree with me if with the proposition that men are the enforcement arm of society?
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
And
Yeah, the
if
low-level
morality is
enforcers.
subjective, right? Let's say that, like the collective of men decide, you know what? No more rights for women. Fuck them. Put them in
Yep,
cages.
that's what happened. That's why abortion's illegal.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Yep.
So what you're ultimately saying,
Who
though,
the
is
fuck do
that-
you think legislated abortion in the
No.
U.S. It wasn't a board of women. I'll tell you that.
No, so what you're saying
and-
ultimately
and
is
I
that
brought
hold on.
up-
So
I
hold on.
brought
I
up
wasn't
the
done
fact-
talk. I wasn't done with the inquiry,
Oh,
lady.
God.
Shut up.
Oh God.
Anyways, so what the entailment of your position then, or Ghost, is that when the Muslims throw their women in grape cages, nothing wrong with that. It's what they prefer. Now you don't prefer it, but
Yes,
they're not doing
yes,
anything
yes.
actually wrong. You just don't prefer it.
Well, I'm a moral anti-realist again, so I don't believe in whatever the fuck actual wrongness means. I just have my own moral values.
But you're a more. Oh, no, this is the first time I actually heard that you say that you're a moral anti-realist.
Well, I said
So,
that
hold
at
on.
the start of the conversation, which you
So,
said you were
I-
listening to.
I didn't. I missed like the first 5 minutes. I heard like the beginning of,
Okay.
or heard the beginning, or like right after the openings.
I actually
So
said
real
it
quick.
later into the conversation, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, I didn't hear that part. Anyways, Ghost. And real quick, ought we do anything ever?
Ought we do anything ever? Well, under my view, I would ascribe oughts, but that's because I'm assuming that we can at least share some type of value together, right? We share some moral intuitions.
So
And
so it's
through
just the
that, we
appeal to
can- we can play
consensus.
off of like, huh?
So it's literally just the appeal to consensus. We ought do what most people
Okay,
want.
be careful here. Be careful here, because I'm not saying we ought to do what most people want. I'm saying that what most people want is what we will do. That's just a descriptive fact, because that's just how the majority works. But
Really?
that
Hold on.
doesn't
What most
necessarily
people
mean that
want
it
is what we
aligns
will
with my
do. Are you
values.
sure that's the case?
Well, that's how society gets built, right? If
Really? Because most people
have
in your
like a certain-
country vote against mass migration. They don't want it. Why
No.
aren't we doing that?
Yeah. Well, with mass migration, like when I
Why
say
aren't we
that that's
doing
what
that?
most people want, well, the people in the country are not the people in power. Okay, so if you want to critique like the way democracy works, or if you want to critique the government, that's a completely separate
But
criticism.
you just said we
Well,
will do what most people want. Most people don't want or want this thing to stop, but we're not doing
then
that.
take that up with the British government. That's not my problem.
I just
But
demonstrated
we're
that your
talking
claim
about
doesn't fucking make any
morality.
sense, and it's actually
No, my
contrary to
claim
what's
does make sense. I said that
observable.
morally, what people want is what they're going to think is all morally correct, like collectively, because that's just what most people think. That doesn't necessarily mean that it is actually true or false. It just
So then, by
means that
this
that's
standard,
just
hold on. By this
descriptively
standard,
what people
then by
want
this
to.
hold on. By this standard, then we ought to ban abortion because most people in the world are religious. They're at least some kind of theistic. I would
I
say.
don't appeal to the majority. That's not what my morals are built off. I'm just saying that's descriptively what people will do. Right? Most people liked slavery at one point.
Hold on,
and
are they
slavery
doing
was
anything
legal.
wrong? Are they doing anything wrong? If most people
me,
want to get rid of
yes.
abortion, are they doing something wrong?
How many people are going to come on the panel and just like be like, "Oh my god, morals are subjective"? Like, did you know that what your belief is that it entails that there are no objective moral facts? Like, no shit, Sherlock. How many times do I have to say I'm a moral anti-realist? I know that it's not actually fucking wrong. I'm saying it's wrong indexed to my preferences. How many times do I have to say this? I get it.
Hold on,
Okay,
then,
you don't
hold on,
like
Ghost.
moral
Why should I
anti-realism.
care?
get it.
No, this is what I was trying to get to. This is actually exactly what I was trying to get to.
Why
Why
you
should I
care? Because-
value Why should I value your preferences?
Because if we share similar moral intuitions, then you might find my system
We don't
more
share.
intuitive
We
and
don't
match with your
share
actual
similar
values.
moral intuitions. So why
Well, then
should
there's
I?
nothing can do.
So there's no
How
reason
the
why
fuck
I
am I
ought.
to
Listen,
convince
hold on. So
you?
there's no reason why I ought share your preferences.
If your view holds contradictions in your values that you find unintuitive, but you uphold them anyway, then I think that would be a good motivation. If you generally think that, hey, I like to hold
like
to
yours?
non-contradictory moral, well, okay, well, if good luck pointing out a contradiction, because none of you fuckers have
I
done it so
did.
far. No,
I
you didn't.
did.
Not in my abortion arguments.
Property
not that.
rights. Ghost.
Yeah, that's not a
We did property
contradiction.
rights.
I pointed
You
out why
did
that
a
was retarded.
contradiction there. You
So it's a
literally said,
contradiction if Mo
I
says
care
that
about-
human life is valuable and then he kills someone out of
You s-
self-defense. Is that
you
a
said about-
contradiction?
you said I care about.
Exactly.
You said I care about protecting property rights, and then we went through that, and you said I don't care about property rights.
Hold on, Ghost.
okay? So
Do
that's
you
a
understand?
full-on
Do you know what?
Generally,
hold
I
on.
care about property rights, but there will be exceptions to that.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Hold on,
They
Ghost.
distinguish
Hold on.
it.
That's not.
That's
That
not
I
a
wouldn't say that. That's not a
contradiction.
contradiction. I know.
Yeah, exactly.
But hold on,
Even
Ghost.
this guy on your side knows it's not a fucking contradiction.
But Ghost, do you subscribe to coherency theory then?
What, of truth?
Yeah.
I don't know. I lean more on the deflationist side of truth.
The what? I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time with the accent a little bit. What was the term?
Deflationary. I lean more on deflationary truth.
Deflationary? I've never heard of that one.
Deflationary truth is just like, when we make truth judgments, we're not saying that it's either just because it's coherent or because it corresponds to a fact in the world. Like if I say the snow is white is true, that's just the same thing as saying the snow is white. Like it's just the assertion of the proposition. And then the snow is not white
it's
would
not
be
actually the
thing
same.
as saying
So the saying the snow is white is true. That would be a meta epistemic question or a meta epistemic claim. It'd be a second order claim.
Yeah, well, it depends what you mean by truth, which is exactly why you're asking.
It's a
the
truth claim
question,
about
and
the
I'm
truth
saying that-
claim. So
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm leaning on deflationary, but I mean, I don't hold to a specific theory very strongly. Maybe you can convince me of coherentism if that's a view that you
I
hold.
don't subscribe to I think it's a both and of correspondence and coherent theory.
Wait, so what theory of truth do you hold to?
I just said it's a both and it's a correspondence
Oh.
and coherent theory of
Oh,
truth.
sorry. I
It's a
thought you
both
said
and.
you don't hold to either of those.
No, I
Okay.
said it's a both and. You can't do either one independently because the problem with both of them are trying to account for the problems with the other one. So the problems with correspondence theory to truth is it literally is just kicking the can down the road. That which corresponds to reality is true. Truth and reality are those would be metaphysical categories. So it's just literally just presupposing a bunch of things that it doesn't justify. So coherence
Remember,
theory is saying, well, let's get the metaphysics out of the way first. So we need to come up with a coherent account for these things. But the problem with it is you can have a totally coherent theory that, is internally consistent, but it doesn't correspond to reality at all.
Yep. Sure. Yeah.
So
what
I
is
think it's a
your-
both and. I think you need to have a coherent theory that corresponds to reality.
Okay. Yeah, that could be the case. Sure. As I said, I don't have strong opinions on theories of truth and such. I'm just merely making the moral discussion about abortion because that's
Well-
the topic that we can. And again, I don't mind talking about other things as I said, but I'm being good faith with you. Like I'm not.
I don't think you've been. I don't think you've been a dick. Really.
Epistemology and metaphysics. So I can explore with you a couple of the metaphysical and epistemological ideas I've had or whatever it may be. But ultimately, the thing that I hold a more concrete stance on at the moment is my stance on morality and abortion and so on.
Well, okay,
that's
so,
the view that
so
I
the
came
reason I
to
want to
the-
ask, so you say that, and this is why I really think you need to get your metaphysics and your epistemology nailed down. So when you say morality is subjective, how do you know that that's the case?
Well, so it seems that whenever somebody tries to explain to me some type of objective morality, right? Obviously, it's not the case that we just have uncovered an objective moral fact scientifically, right? So clearly,
Yeah,
that's
I
not
would-
how
I would
we're
agree that it's
arriving
not
at
something you can
objective moral
empirically
truths.
demonstrate.
So it's something else grounded in your metaphysics if you're an objectivist. So you could say that it's just that maybe you hold to some type of naturalism, or maybe you hold to, as you hold to, right, maybe a more theological worldview. Now I understand that the theological worldview comes with it all sorts of different arguments and parameters. But even if I were to grant a lot of your worldview, right, I could just say we need God, God's a necessary being, he's all this and he's all that. I still take issue with some of the moral sides of it that they just don't really seem to make sense to me. This idea of so they're just the typical things that a Euthyphro dilemma and stuff like
The
that.
Euthyphro dilemma doesn't apply to my system because I know what. Yeah, it's an attack on divine command theory. Is something good because God said it's good, or is it good outside of
right.
God, and that's why He says so?
Yeah.
So that's
But
the
maybe
problem.
you're
Yeah,
not a
that's the
divine
problem with
command
divine
theorist.
command theory. But I'm not a
I'd like
divine
to-
command theorist.
I'd like to add
Okay.
on to his point about morality, because moralities are values based. They are by their very nature subjective. It's your own.
That's not an
values,
entailment.
Their own morality. Yes,
There's
it
no
is.
entailment
It
to
is.
there's no entailment to morality entails it that is subjective.
Yeah, it is, because it's value judgment, and values are whether it's good or bad, and that is
Yes, can you have a standard for what's good or bad that exists outside of you? Is it
Yes.
logically? Yes. So then it would be, if it exists outside of you, could you have one that's
Yes.
also universal?
No.
Why
Because
couldn't there be a universal
because
standard
it's
for what is
because
good?
it's a group of minds that get together and they decide what is morally just, and then it becomes a law. Usually, that's how morals work.
I could agree with you. That might be how laws get passed, but no, that's not. There's no entailment that for example, there's no entailment that people just get together and agree, and that's what makes things moral, or that's what makes things legal or not. I could agree with you that that's usually how law works, right? Where it's law is the enforcement of an ethical system. That's what it is.
Yes.
So, but there's no entailment to that might be how we practice it, or we what's the word I'm looking for here? That's how we what is the fucking term I'm looking for here for? That might be how we impose it, right? But that doesn't actually entail that a moral system couldn't be universal and absolute and exist outside of my mind and outside of all minds or outside of all human
No.
minds. It could exist absent
No,
us.
because it depends on the culture. Because culture are groups of minds.
Okay,
And
so morality is
subjectivity
so we're going
Can
cultural
you let me
relativism.
finish? Because you got really butthurt when I interrupted you.
That's fair.
Can I
All right, you know
finish?
what? All right, go ahead.
So my thing is that it's subjective by nature because they're a value-based subject. It's based on what's good and what's bad, and then it's always going to be mind dependent, whether it's a group of minds or it's a single mind, because there's idiots like Nambla that believe that the children can consent, and with that same logic you say you have the ability or the potential for consciousness. That's the same logic that PDF files use. They say, oh well, one day when they're older they'll have the ability to consent.
Yeah, so I would agree with you that Nambla just as evil as abortionist.
So, look, I mean, like, even if so here's a difficult thing. It seems like even if I grant that God exists and that morality is grounded in God, this would be some type of deontology, and I just generally have problems with deontology because, like, I don't think that it very well accounts for the nuances of moral scenarios, and I think it goes very strongly against our moral intuitions. Now, you might say that that's fine. Who gives a fuck about your moral intuitions? Because this is just objectively the case. That's fine, but then you have to bite like all sorts of bullets. I think either that, or you have to admit that there is a lot about morality that we just can't access. Because,
What are the bullets I have to bite with a
God has listed-
deontological ethical system?
Well, sure. I just asked that. First of all, what is your deontic system?
I'm an Eastern Orthodox Christian.
Well, that's not really a deontic system. That's just a religion.
Yeah, you are aware of the story of the bitter waters, of the unfaithful wife and then forcing her to drink the bitter waters that would cause her to have an abortion. That is in the Old Testament. Did you know that story?
Yes, I'm very aware of that story.
Okay, let me put it like this.
So
Okay,
in
like,
your
let's say
own book,
sorry,
it
sorry.
says that
You like that?
abortion is A-okay. That doesn't make sense.
No, that wasn't the purpose of what that was.
No, we don't need to go to scripture. I'm just trying to figure out that, like, look, you guys clearly got it sorted out. You have an objective moral system with like very rigid rules. So I'm just trying to figure out how you know about all of these rules. How many rules are there? Do they?
But they're
do they
inconsistent.
lapse?
Sorry,
I don't know.
you talk over.
That's what I'm wondering.
don't see how
I'm
it's
just wondering.
They're
Right.
inconsistent because abortion and murdering babies is A-okay in the Bible.
No, it's not.
I don't think the
Yes,
Bible.
it is.
No,
from
okay,
everything
so the
I've
story
tried
of,
to
okay,
find in
she
the
keeps making
Bible,
this claim. I'm
seems
going to have to
like-
address it. So the story of the bitter waters was to
it's-
determine if a woman was unfaithful. The way that it went in the, according to the Old Testament was that if a woman was unfaithful, she drank this this mystery fluid. The entailment of that is she would have a miscarriage.
That's an abortion.
Ooh, wait, you
No.
you hold to the miscarriage interpretation? Damn, okay. Because I speak to I speak to Catholics about this, and Catholics just reject the miscarriage interpretation. But
Yeah,
if
I
you
reject
accept the
Catholicism
miscarriage-
because the Catholics are.
that's fair enough. But then that means if you accept the miscarriage interpretation, I'm just gonna say, well, look, that's evidently like a type of abortion, like obviously, right? Like it's an induced miscarriage. Like that's essentially like.
Well, then
the
here's
same-
the, no. So
but-
here's the thing. Here's the
yeah.
case. If it's the case that the woman does have a miscarriage, from my view, then guess what? She's knowingly killing her kid because she knew that she was unfaithful.
So you think it's
No,
okay?
she was forced to.
If I feed a woman poison because she's like, you know, but it's only a certain type of poison that would kill her fetus. Is it okay for me to do that if I find out she was cheating on her husband? I can just like spike her drink with it.
I wouldn't say no.
You'd say that you wouldn't say no.
I would
that's
say
wrong?
no. I would say no.
Oh, you would say that's wrong.
That's what I
So
meant. I'm sorry.
the only-
I realized I said a double negative, but I didn't mean to. I was
Okay,
I
that's fine.
fucked up saying I wouldn't, and I would
So
say
why
no.
is it wrong for me to do it, but it's not wrong in this scenario where God's done it?
So here's the entailment from my view is that what's good is grounded in God's very nature. So like the bombing of Sodom and Gomorrah, that was totally fine.
Grounded in its nature. Okay,
So
well,
hypocritical.
okay,
They're
that's
so
fine, yeah,
pro-life
okay.
until it comes to
Good.
like the genocides in the Bible and stuff.
Yes, God,
Well-
what God does is good. That's the standard that I appeal to. Yes.
Okay,
Like
well, I mean, that just means
genocide
God
and
could do
killing all the
anything, yeah.
babies and smacking the babies into the ground and all that stuff. That's A-okay as long as God says so.
So wait, but under your worldview, you're making yourself God in these decisions. So how's that any better?
Yeah, that's way fucking better because my worldview doesn't account for, like, you know, saying that
That is way
genocide is
better.
okay.
Yeah,
Well,
our
this is the thing,
worldview
right?
is
That's
that we
your
shouldn't be
imperfect
bashing
perception of it,
babies'
right?
heads into the ground. and
You
stuff
guys have
like
killed
that.
way
But
more
that's-
people than God ever did in the Old Testament.
Like many more
You
people
guys,
have been
whoa, I've never
murdered
killed
in
anyone.
God's name than anything in the world. Millions of people have been killed. Holocaust
Millions?
is
Millions
one
of
of the
abortions
examples.
yearly? Wait, the millions of abortions.
You want to compare it to
yearly?
the number of
You're talking-
abortions, or
You
even
wanna
let's just we don't even have to do abortions. Hold on, we don't even have to do abortions. we can actually make it even easier. There were more people killed in the Bolshevik Revolution than were killed in the entire accounting of the Bible.
Okay, well, you know what's funny though? I might uphold. Like I might uphold the position that pro-choice, is more moral or whatever, and you might say, "Hey, that's not moral." But at the end of the day, I've never actually killed anyone. I've never committed an abortion.
You actively advocate for it.
God has directly killed innocent children. Okay, so you can't equate me to God. Like I've never killed anyone. I haven't even done an immoral act in your worldview. At least
so here's the distinction. For one, from your guys' view, you think that when we die, we get to become worm food. I don't hold that position.
In the world, I've actually got 2 up on God.
You have what?
He had one person and then he crucified him. I've actually created 2 human beings.
That person
so
was
I've got 2
God,
up on God.
from my view. That person was God, so...
My kids are God?
No, the person that was crucified is God. Maybe you should try and learn their theology and if you want to argue against it.
I mean, look,
it was his son and God. I know. He sacrificed the son so that he could. I can't even do it anymore.
No, that's not the intent. No, that's not the position of Eastern Orthodoxy.
No,
that's not the position of Eastern Orthodoxy.
He's all powerful, so he could have just done. He could have done anything he wanted, but he decided, "Oh, we're gonna sacrifice Jesus." And
not the position of the Orthodox Church, lady.
It's so dumb. And then think about this.
Oh my God, my retarded fucking interpretation of Scripture is wrong, and then I'm gonna just assert that it's correct, and therefore it doesn't make sense.
It's wrong. You just don't like it because it's logical.
No, you're giving a totally incorrect interpretation of Scripture, and I actually have a historic church to appeal to for my understanding of the interpretation. They're the ones who fucking wrote it. Whereas you're just going, I'm going to read the book and determine what it means. How do you know that you have the correct interpretation of Scripture?
Anybody can read the book.
That's great. Hold on. Nat, you're not addressing the fucking question I just asked. How do you know your interpretation of Scripture is correct? How do you know that?
How do you know your interpretation is correct?
That's a great question. I don't appeal to my interpretation.
Yeah, I just read it as it's written.
Oh my God, great. Got it.
So
I read this book, right?
I can read Scripture and I understand what it means. And
you understand what it means. That's great to know. I'm so happy for you. So I read this book called Lord of the Rings, right? In it, this little boy, he finds out that he's actually a wizard after some weird dude with no nose killed his parents. Then he goes off to some magic school. Oh, am I not interpreting this text correctly? Is that possible to do?
I don't know. I've never watched Lord of the Rings.
Oh my God, it's fucking broad.
Okay, real quick, I'm just trying to figure out. Okay, well, first of all, so you reject divine command theory, fine, and you say that good is a part of God's nature, which I just take to be a tautological error. So for me, when you say good, it just doesn't mean anything besides God. Like I don't see a distinction. Like when you say donating to charity is good, what you're just saying is donating to charity is God.
No, what is good is grounded in the nature of God.
And how is it grounded in the nature of God?
By his very being, what he is, the ontology of God, his nature is the standard for
what I'm saying. Yeah, so it would be the same thing, right? When I say donating to charity is God, that would be a correct statement because...
I mean, sure, it would sound semantically weird, but ultimately, sure, it'd be fine.
Okay, so to me, this idea of morality is just completely vacuous because good just loses all meaning.
It doesn't lose all meaning there.
Well, you're just saying it's God, but God has attributes, right? Like God is all knowing, God is all powerful.
Yes.
Okay, so you wouldn't just say this is all just God's nature. You would say, look, it might be a part of God's nature, but this is a distinct attribute. But being good is not a distinct attribute, so it's reduced to absurdity.
I'm not sure that it would be reduced to absurdity, even if that was the case.
Well, it would be like if I said to you, if you asked me God is all knowing, and I was like, yep, God is all knowing, and then you asked me, well, what does that mean? And I said, it's just God's nature. But in reality, what I should say is, okay, well, God knows all things. Or if I say God is all powerful, I could say, okay, look, God has incredible potency, he's able to perform all logically possible acts. And then if I ask you what is good, that is just God. It just doesn't mean anything. It's just reduced to absurdity. That's what I mean.
So by his very nature, the standard that I appeal to for when I say something, you would agree when somebody says something's good or bad, that's a value judgment, right?
Under my worldview, it is, yeah.
I would say the same thing. Well, something that's good would be a value. If I say something's good, I'm giving a value judgment. Well, if the standard that I appeal to for what is good is in the nature of God and the law and the commandments that he's given and the laws that he's passed down, the system that where the things that he's revealed to us, right? From my view, that wouldn't be incoherent to say God's nature, like good is grounded in the nature of God. He is the standard.
Well, I don't know what good is because you've just drawn a circle.
Well, so from my view, all worldviews are ultimately going to be all worldviews are ultimately circular, but.
I mean, okay, but your worldview is viciously circular.
No, it's
because you're just
virtuously
saying good is
circular.
good.
It's appealing to a necessary circle from my view.
So the necessary circle is that good is good. So you don't even know how to determine good from good because good is just good.
No,
Whereas
no,
at least in my view, I can say,
So
well,
watch. I
good
can give you an
is
example.
indexed to my
Do you know the
preferences
distinction
and
between a
like-
vicious and a virtuous circle?
Yeah, like a virtuous circle would just be a circle that's necessary, and then a vicious circle would be one that's like.
Yeah, right. Like, can you define words without using
it-
words?
Yeah, obviously, I agree that would be a problem. But the fact that like, okay, well, why is it not a vicious circle?
It's not a vicious circle because God is the necessary precondition for knowledge.
That doesn't have anything to do with like the
God
question
is the
of what
necessary
good is.
precondition for all transcendental
Are you
categories.
chatting with? What are you chatting with? I'm confused.
What?
Like is he chatting? Like he's responding to something? I must be not hearing somebody.
Oh, yeah, maybe she can't hear me. I don't know why.
No, I can hear you, but who
Oh,
are
you
you
can?
chatting with?
Oh, sorry, me. You can you can't hear Steelborn? The guy on camera with the sunglasses. Yeah, I
Is
can
he
hear him.
talking right now?
He was.
Yeah, he
I was
was.
chatting back and forth with him.
Well, I don't know what this stupid gotcha she's trying to get is. It doesn't even make sense.
Oh, I'm gonna go, guys. I didn't mean to interrupt. You guys have
Okay,
a
no
wonderful
worries.
All right, Nat.
evening. It was a
Thanks
great
for coming up.
debate, and I appreciate it. And hopefully, I didn't like ruffle too many feathers.
No,
it's
that's
fine,
what the
take
after panel's for. No worries.
All right,
Take care.
thanks, guys. Bye.
I've learned a
Bye.
lot.
care. Yeah,
We've
so
all
it just
learned a
seems
lot.
it seems to me that under your worldview, I just can't really get anything out of good. If you're not a divine command theorist, you can't even say like, well, look, God thinks that this action is like, you know, good and that we should do it, because that's not what good means in your worldview. Good just means God, right? It's just part of God's nature, but it's not a component that's part of God's nature because it's defined as being God himself. So to me, the reason I say it's viciously circular is because like there is no necessary component here. I don't see what the logical necessity would be of God being good. You might say that God needs to be the grounding for reasoning. Okay, fine. Listen, maybe I can't epistemically know shit without God, but I don't see what can you give me like I don't see what would be wrong with saying that like God, it's logically possible that God does not have a good nature, but you know he's still maybe the necessary grounder of all truths. That doesn't seem to be a problem.
Well, at that point, I don't even know what good would be outside of the standard of God.
Well, I mean, I can tell you very easily what good is. Good, when I say good, it's an expression of a value judgment that's indexed to my preferences. So something that is good is something that I like and I prescribe with normative force. So if I say that, like, you know, donating to charity is good, what I mean by that is that I approve of the action of donating to charity.
That would also be the
and
case
I,
if
and I,
but you
and
don't have
I
to.
want other people to do that.
Yeah, but that would also be the
Right.
case if you were like the Come Warriors of Papua New Guinea. That's good.
Wait, what do you mean that's good?
If you said, if from your standard, if I just said the Come Warriors of Papua New Guinea is good, then that's now it's
That's
saying
where
something that I
I'm
approve
with
of.
you guys have a
Listen.
good one.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, Elder, thanks for
could
coming up.
hold-
See
You
you.
could hold to that, but clearly, when I communicate good to you, you know what's being said, right? Like when I say to you,
Here,
that
do you
might
want me to
disagree
actually
with me
like
on
do you want me to like
abortion.
just real quick? Would you like me to actually like try and like find the definition according to the church? Like see if I can give you something. I might just be like struggling to explain.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I'm not trying to necessarily like trap you in a dishonest way, but although it is a bit telling to me that you would like grill my entire moral system, but then like it seems like you're kind of struggling at the first hurdle here at just like what good even means in your system, and it's fine. Listen, like you know we're all, you know, fucking students, right? It's fine. Like we're all trying to learn, so it's not a gotcha, but it's more that it's just like I can't help but just feel a bit like, damn, this guy's like grilling me hard on my system, but like good is good when good is good is your system, and to me this is like even less descriptive and even less useful. Like I'll agree with you, just as like a last sentence, like I'll agree with you that sure, my worldview does mean that some people can hold to some moral views that we find deeply uncomfortable. There is nothing I can point to say, look, it's like it's wrong of you to be in favor of genocide, but I can at least describe
Okay, so
what is being meant by good.
Yeah. So okay. So, so from the Orthodox Church's position, God is not merely a being that has moral opinions. God is understood as the fullness of being itself, the good itself, truth itself, love itself. So when we say God is good is grounded in God's nature, that we mean that goodness itself is rooted in what God eternally is. So things are good because they participate and reflect in God's eternal nature. God is not measured by a moral standard above him. Grounded in God's nature means morality is neither arbitrary nor impersonal. So so
that's fine. But that still runs into the same problem. You understand?
So the commands that God gives are like this is why when people make the argument when they're like, could God create a rock so heavy that he couldn't lift it? Well, no, because it would violate his nature. Can God create a God more powerful than himself? That would violate his nature.
That's fine. But do you know why you say that God can't do that? That's because your understanding of what it means to be maximally powerful is to say that, look, God's nature is logical, and we know what logic is, right? We know what's logically possible, like things that entail contradictions.
Well, no, that's true. The things that entail contradictions, but you understand that logical possibility is actually that's going to be dependent upon worldview.
Yep, it might be dependent on worldview, and it could be the case that your worldview is the best account of logic, but it's not the best account of morality, because at least with logic, I can say, when you say all-powerful, which is an attribute of God, then I can say...
Okay, so what is good is when you align your will with God's.
Your will? So God could have a different will?
Well, no, so God's will, what God wills and what God wants, right? When I say want, you understand what I'm saying when I say what God's will is? Like, if I were to say God's will, that is what is good.
Type of freedom there.
God has free will.
So God has free will, but he can't choose to do things that
violate his
moral.
nature. No.
Well, how do you constitute it violating his nature? You're just saying that things are good because it's God's nature, and God's nature will always be good, but you're not really defining what good is, what the constraints of good are, right? For logic, I understand. You're saying God's nature is logical, but we know what logic is, so that makes sense. If I said to you, God's nature is for blah, 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 that doesn't mean fucking anything, okay? But because I know what logic is, I'm like, oh, okay, well, listen, I know what the classical laws of logic are, right? I can be like, okay, there's non-contradiction, excluded middle, fucking whatever the fuck, and and you're telling me that these things apply to God. That's fine, this makes sense. But if you're saying God is good, good is God, God is good, these aren't separate attributes anymore. This just doesn't make any sense.
Okay, good. If I were to say this, that goodness is the expression of God's eternal nature.
What if I just said that logic is the expression of God's eternal nature?
That would also be true.
Give you any... Okay, but then there's no examples of logic. There would be no description of what logic is. That would be the beginning and the end of the description of logic. You couldn't say to me that 2 + 2 is logical. That wouldn't really make any sense if you were to take that view, because by invoking logic, you're describing that there's some type of system or there's some type of definition behind what logic even is. But for goodness, there isn't. It's just tied so closely to God that it loses all semantic meaning.
No, so it would be the good, if you want me to say it like that. The good is God's will, ultimately. So, it's by the eternal nature that he's always had. What he is, it's literally it's not separate from him. It's not distinct from him. It's what God is and what God does and what God wills. That is what is good.
Well, you're saying that God is good as part of his nature, but then you're saying it's what God wills, which sounds like an action stemming from him.
Like creation, that's an action, right?
Yeah.
From our view, creation is good.
God is not his creation.
He's not his creation, but God's creation is good. Right? It's not inherent. God's creation is not evil.
So would you agree that I have free will?
Yes.
Okay, and my actions are separate from God?
Your actions would be separate.
But my actions can be good, and good is defined as not being separate from God. So I'm not really sure what it would be.
No, good is good. So for us, in order for us to participate in the good, that would be we align our will with God's.
We align our will with God's. Okay, I mean, this doesn't really get me any closer to not only understanding what good and bad really means, but understanding why.
So bad or evil would be the privation. So from our view, evil has a negative ontology.
But this doesn't seem to drive any normative force. Even if I granted everything that you're saying is true, I could just say, well, look, I don't want to align my will with God. Why is that objectively wrong?
So from my view, you're denying the eternal standard. You're
okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Doesn't make it objective just because it's an eternal standard.
No, objective would be it's just mind independent.
Well, I mean, it's dependent on God's will.
No, it's not dependent. It's not dependent on God's will. Oh my dude, I don't get why you don't understand this. It's not dependent on His will. No, I said God's will. What God wills is good because by His nature, what He wills is good. He is the standard. Like
this sounds like
He
a
is the
semantics
standard.
difference, but
It might be. We might just be talking past each other. I don't know.
You're saying that the standard is good, but I just
guys,
don't want to. Yeah, sorry.
So there's no good time to do this, but this has been a good conversation. But I think this is probably a good time for me to.
Are you frozen? Is he frozen for you too, Ghost?
Yes, that's also another reason to skedaddle. My camera has decided to betray me. I don't know how much more of this betrayal I can take.
Can I ask you one more question, Mo, before you go? I don't mean to like spring this off down a whole other rabbit hole, but I just want to get your answer to one moral dilemma I had in mind, but I never really got the opportunity to bring it up before.
One moral dilemma. Okay. Shoot.
So obviously we take the view, under your view, that like all human lives are equally valuable, right? From conception to 90 years old, like they all hold equal value.
They have. I guess you could say they have an intrinsic value. Yes, of them being human.
So I'm just trying to establish like what exactly, how do we stack this against each other? So let's say that we have a fetus, right, that from conception it has a condition where it's guaranteed to die within a few weeks, so it's definitely never going to develop any conscious experience whatsoever, right? Would it still be wrong to abort that fetus because it's a human life, even if it's going to cause physical and psychological distress, but it's guaranteed to never have any awareness or be born?
You're baking a few things. You're baking in the physical distress. That's one thing. You're baking that into.
Okay, fine. Let's just say there's no distress. Let's just say she just wants it out of her body because
you can just grant it. You can just grant that it bakes into the distress. Yes, it would still be equally wrong to intentionally destroy an innocent life. So for like the same example of like if my wife's dying of cancer, right, and like it's like a guarantee, like it's terminal, right? Yeah. Is it okay for me to just walk up and just like fucking just like take a knife and be like like a fucking bunch of times and just like stab her in the eyeballs?
Yeah, no, of course not. But the thing is, right, so okay, so to map this onto a real example, there's a real condition called a partial molar pregnancy, which you can look up,
I know,
right?
I know what it is.
Yeah, if you're aware of this, right? Yeah. So for those that don't know in the audience, it's basically a condition where like a fetus develops with too many chromosomes, so it can't develop properly, and it's I think the longest that one has ever lived is about 15 weeks. So they're basically cooked. So I'm not just giving an unrealistic hypothetical.
Is that post-birth, or is it like 15 weeks post-birth, or?
No, like during pregnancy.
Okay,
like,
that's what I thought. Yeah, so it's not a viable
pregnancy.
pregnancy.
Yeah, so it's not a viable pregnancy, but what it is an innocent, unique human life. That is what it would be under science, right? So, and under your worldview, obviously, that's what you're interested in protecting. So obviously, the first question is, are you okay with aborting it? And you said no, that wouldn't be okay, right?
So there's different scenarios, right? So like, look, this is one that I've tackled with. I don't actually I don't have my position fully fleshed out in here. Like so. If you were to steel man my position, right, as the pro-lifer who, so the reason that I value human life from the moment of conception is because that's when I believe ensoulment happens and man is made in the image of God. So that person's just as valuable as I am, and they're equal in their status to me. So like the ectopic pregnancy question has actually been something I've wrestled with for a really long time because, like, from my view, the baby, even though it's an ectopic pregnancy, has equal moral value to the mother.
Yeah.
And it's innocent. So it's like I know both sides of the argument for how to justify the ectopic pregnancy abortion in that scenario.
Yeah, and that's fine. And obviously ectopic pregnancies are like cases of a medical emergency. So if you wanted to draw an exception there, I'm not necessarily going to call you hypocritical because look, I mean, there's a high chance that the mother will die, and in an ectopic pregnancy, that baby is going to die anyway.
No, in the ectopic pregnancy, if nothing's done, there's a guarantee that both die.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Like,
I think it's not even pretty much. There's literally, as far as I know, there's no exception.
Okay, fair enough then. I thought there might be some cases, but I know that ectopic pregnancies are incredibly dangerous. So fair enough, right? But I'm saying that in a partial molar case, right, we're talking of a case where the woman could just let it naturally miscarriage, right? And maybe there are physical and psychological traumas associated with this. Maybe there's not. Maybe she's perfectly sound of mind or whatever. But the question is ultimately, right, she has this thing growing inside of her body that's causing her some level of discomfort. Like she wants to abort it. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, it's not a medical emergency. Should she really be forced to endure the pregnancy?
I'm not
for,
quite
like,
sure that it's a
15 weeks?
person, though.
Hey, I agree. Listen, buddy. Amen. Okay, personhood is consciousness. But if you
No,
subscribe
I
to
don't.
those
I don't.
views,
I
then
don't grant
personhood
that
is-
either.
Well, then what do you mean person then? I mean, it is a human life under every standard of science. So
I'm not sure that it's.
So
I'm
look,
not sure.
Yeah,
So for like,
I just kind of give my answer. Like I don't. I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't have like all these edge cases fleshed out perfectly. I would say in a situation like that where you would have the endangerment of the mother. I mean, her life is valuable too, so you have to take that into consideration.
what if her life isn't in
It
danger, though?
so whatever. Well, under the example you gave, it sounds like it's guaranteed, right? Almost.
No, that was my- that was
to be
my
fair,
answer.
yeah, there was a mix-up. So ectopic pregnancies are very dangerous, but in my example was a partial molar pregnancy. It's
Well,
fairly safe.
okay, so let me address
Yeah.
I guess that one, the more dangerous
Yeah.
one. So yeah, that would be it's a situation where even if you're killing someone, and it's or well, no, in that scenario it wouldn't even necessarily be a person. So
no, that's the
you
problem,
would- you
though,
would put
Mo. It
value-
is.
I thought you said it wasn't.
No, the
I
molar
mean-
pregnancy is where I was questioning whether or not it's a person. The ectopic pregnancy
molar.
is a person.
No topic. Okay, got it. So in the case it's a person.
It's just when the baby
Uh,
implant. It's when the fetus
and
implants
that's the
in
one
the
that's the
fallopian
dangerous
tubes.
one, right?
Yeah, the
And
ectopic.
that's the one that's the dangerous.
Yeah, it implants in the
Okay,
fallopian
so-
tubes instead of in the uterus.
Yeah, I get those confused going back and forth. But anyway, in that case, then yeah, you would have to make it by case basis, right? Yeah, it would still be a tragedy if you're going to try to save the mother or the child.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
it's
more
one of those
interested in
edge
the partial
cases.
molar case, though, because obviously ectopic pregnancies are easy for a pro-lifer to defend. But I think I brought up the partial molar case because I think it's harder for you to defend, right? Because if you hold to the view that personhood is the same thing as human life, right? It's undeniable. I mean, like, maybe this guy disagrees with personhood, okay, stillborn, but ultimately, right? Like,
Well, I would
look,
disagree with your definition too, but
well,
No,
look,
he's
I
talking
mean,
about whether or not the molar pregnancy is a person, and the reason that
a partial molar pregnancy is a unique human organism that is part of the Homo sapiens species, and this is
Right,
well
well,
established
this
by
would-
science.
But this would go into my argument of what is or the future you're robbing, right? From a moral standpoint.
Okay, so you do care about potential, because before you made it sound like you cared about the intrinsicness of human life, but now it sounds like that can be
I
thrown
do.
out the window if
Well,
there's
why
no
can't?
potential.
Well, no. Why can't I care about both?
Because you have to either care about the fact that human life has intrinsic value, and also you care about its future, or you
Well, look,
only care about
well,
its
no,
future.
okay.
So
Well,
I'm
look,
just trying to
you
figure it
can-
out.
No, because this is consistent. Because look, there's such, in my opinion, there's such a thing as justified wars, right? So
yeah, fine, fair enough.
it's still a tragedy of a human life being lost, though, right? It doesn't remove that aspect.
Okay,
of
but
it.
the question is, legally, should she be allowed to abort it, right? Let's say you have two scenarios. You have one woman that just has a perfectly normal, healthy pregnancy. There is a reasonable likelihood that if she doesn't abort it, this baby will be born and it will
you
be
can have
fine.
unjust laws, so I don't know if we can legally.
Okay, fine, but you
kind of
would
a murky
probably,
waters.
you would presumably advocate for just laws, I would imagine.
He's,
right?
he's asking
So
if you
I-
could if it could be ethically permissible to abort in the case of a partial molar pregnancy.
That's my question. Yeah.
And so here's where I would actually. I think the answer that I could give might be consistent. I could be wrong here. This answer could be inconsistent, but I think it's not. So what a molar pregnancy is essentially, yes, it is true that it has human DNA, but it's actually more closely related to cancer than it is to a human being, because cancer also has human DNA and human cells. So in like the case of a molar pregnancy, it's not. I'm not sure it's actually like a person,
But
because
it's
I
a
wouldn't say
separate human
I wouldn't say a
organism, though.
tumor. No, I wouldn't say a tumor is a person, right? But it
Okay,
is
so why
true
is
that
human life a conception of human life, but cancer isn't then, under your worldview, where you defend human life?
because cancer is it shares human DNA, but it's actually the cells are essentially corrupted, right? Like they're not they're usually either with cancer the cells are
Yeah, it's not a human organism though. Just because something has human DNA doesn't make it a human organism, right? Me and Mo both agree that human life starts at conception. And in a partial molar case, like that is a case of human life starting at conception. We're not talking about like cancer cells that technically have like human cells, but that it's not like a separate.
But
human
that's what the
organism.
case
We're
with
talking
that.
about
That's what a
genuine-
molar pregnancy is.
Well, like a molar pregnancy is still like a molar pregnancy, a partial molar pregnancy is mainly a case of chromosomal development, but it's still a unique human life, right? That's just an undeniable fact, right? And if you want to say that like that there's a problem here because of like cancer or whatever, that's fine. But this is a problem for your guys' worldview, because my worldview is crystal clear. I care about personhood, which is psychological continuity, okay? And this fetus doesn't have it, whether it's partial molar or not, so you can abort it. But for your worldview, it feels like you guys are kind of stammering around the place, because it's just like, okay, well, I care about human life, but some human life might be cooked. It might be too cooked for me to care, so I care about the future development of the life. But then I also care about both. It's not just the future development of the life. So it just seems a bit all over the place.
But no.
All I've said is that I just don't have my answer flushed out on this one in ectopic pregnancy.
A partial molar pregnancy is not a viable organism, correct?
When you say viable organism, it's not a viable pregnancy, which
it's not going to become. It's not going to have a future, right? It's not going to develop into a fully like a formed human, correct?
No, but a child with terminal cancer isn't either. But you would still say it's wrong to kill them.
Well, yeah, I would in that case, because then that goes into who are you to decide what is a worthwhile life or not, right? But that's a different argument.
Okay, fine. So then you would commit to the view that killing the partial molar is wrong, if that's the case, because we shouldn't be deciding what worthwhile life is. That's fine.
But if it's
you
not a viable organism, then it's not contradictory.
Well, I don't know what a viable organism is. I mean, it's a living human organism.
If you leave it
growing.
alone, will it turn into a fully developed human?
A fully developed human, maybe not, but it will develop and grow. And like, I mean, look,
in this case, it would kill the mother. Correct? It would kill the mother.
No, it wouldn't kill the mother. You can just like have the miscarriage, and it would just be like.
I'm saying.
I looked this up. So the partial molar pregnancy is actually a very serious medical condition, where the pregnancy develops abnormally due to chromosomal issues. In most cases, the fetus is not viable. The placenta develops abnormally, and the condition can seriously endanger the mother, including risks of hemorrhage and progression into gestational trophoblastic disease/cancer.
There are some risks associated with it, but from my understanding of reading about partial molars, there are risks in every pregnancy, right? Even viable ones, but ultimately, like a partial molar one, I think is generally not super dangerous. Like there are risks, but I think partial molars are not as dangerous as like fully molar ones, I think.
Yeah. So do you? I can actually give you the church's position on this.
Do they have a position on partial molar abortions?
Yes, the Eastern Orthodox Church actually does.
Oh, perfect. Okay, what do they say?
So the Eastern Orthodox position is human life is sacred from conception. Abortion as the elective destruction of innocent life is condemned, but medical treatment aimed at saving the mother in cases where the child is non-viable or already dying is treated differently than elective abortion. In the case of a partial molar pregnancy, many Orthodox ethicists and priests would likely view removal of the pregnancy as morally permissible or even necessary. Because the pregnancy is ordinarily not capable of developing into a viable birth, the mother may face serious danger. The intent is not the destruction of a healthy, viable child, but treatment of a pathological and life-threatening condition.
Yeah,
okay.
So that would become down to the intent, and that's where I was.
Yeah, intention is very important in Orthodox theology.
Yes,
okay, fine. Intent. So because the thing is, right, is I'm trying to uncover a certain moral belief. Okay, so I understand that, like, listen, maybe I'm wrong about partial molars. Maybe they're more dangerous than I realized. But if I could just stipulate to you a hypothetical where, like, let's just say that we have a fetus that isn't going to cause any problems, and there's not going to be any
very nice. No, I say that's not.
But it's
we should
going
be
to
very
die
nice.
guaranteed in 10
posh
weeks.
country like
I just want to know, in a case
I think
where
I'm so
there
much
aren't any
superior
risks,
than you
is it
just
okay
because
for
I
her
come
to
from
abort it,
England,
or
even
would
though
you
my
say she has to
country,
put up with the
even though my
pregnancy? In
empire
that
used
case,
to
there are
control
no
most of the
medical
world,
risks.
but now we're in a country that's a quarter of the
The church is
size of
invoking medical
Michigan.
risks, right?
Say that one. Say it again.
So in a case where let's just imagine that there was a partial molar pregnancy that didn't have any health risks, just for the sake of argument. Would it then be okay?
That's a contradiction.
Yeah, but I'm saying for the sake of argument, okay, it's not a
Well,
contradiction.
it's a category error then. It's either a category error or a contradiction. Like,
I'm saying let's
Yeah.
imagine the condition. Come on, dude. Like, this is not a category error or contradiction because I'm saying that like let's imagine a condition similar to a partial molar pregnancy insofar as the
Okay,
baby will not develop
but hold
properly.
on. No, I
We
get
can
you're
make
trying.
that
I get you're trying to get the hypothetical out, right? But look, it's also you're
desperate.
creating a hypothetical that doesn't exist.
That's
That's the point
fine.
of a hypothetical.
No,
what
that's fine with a
What I
hypothetical.
mean is, it's not. It's contradictory in what the case we're talking about here. It's
Wait,
not
what's,
really.
what's the P and not P?
It's a molar
Because-
pregnancy that's not dangerous.
Yeah, it's a molar. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and
so,
look,
okay,
look,
so-
Look,
so
look,
let's
hold on,
say
Ghost.
I-
I'm gonna give you non-dangerous liver cancer.
Yeah.
Does that even make sense? Like,
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
So
fine.
I'm
then
not
then
wording
I'll
this
just change
properly because it's
Listen,
late. What
fine.
I'm saying is the hypothetical has to make sense. It has to make logical
Okay,
sense.
I
is what I'm
agree with you.
trying to say.
Okay. First of all, do we agree that we can invent medical conditions for the sake of a hypothetical, or do we think that they have
Yes,
to
but it
be
has to make
real?
sense.
Okay,
it has
sure.
to make sense.
Okay, well, making sense is doing a lot of heavy lifting here, right? I feel like this is
It has
just a
to make
dot to my
logical sense.
hypothetical, right? I'm just saying that let's just say that there is a fetus that is guaranteed to miscarriage in 10 weeks, and it doesn't pose a medical risk to the mother. I'm not referring to partial molar pregnancies. I'm just saying let's just say that there is a case where the
okay,
fetus
got it. So it's a
definitely will
guarantee.
miscarry.
We know that there's gonna be a miscarriage
Yeah,
for
but
reason
otherwise
X.
it's not going to pose any risk to the mother. Is it okay for her to abort it with her knowing that there's going to be a miscarriage anyway in 10
You said
weeks?
at 10 weeks?
Yeah, let's say in 10 weeks, she knows that 10 weeks from now, before there's any conscious experience emerging, that it will die on its own anyway, and she doesn't want to put up with the pregnancy for elective reasons. Should she be able to abort it? It's a yes or no. It's quite simple.
I'm sorry, I was reading my chat. So we know that it's a non-medical emergency, but it's also non-viable, and we know that we have a guarantee that it's going to miscarry at week 10.
Yep.
Okay, I mean, baking your hypothetical is a lot of knowledge that'd be really hard to actually justify
It's
in the
fine.
real world, but
it's because it's a hypothetical, so you don't need to worry.
I'm
about
not
all the
sure that I could
nitty-gritties.
say. I'm not sure that from my position, I would say it. Not sure it'd be okay to abort, but like, I think honestly the best category to put this in. So Orthodoxy has a category for things like this, so we call them moral tragedies. Where it's like, it's not good, but like it's not the same as murder, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
Like, I'll give you an
So-
example. So if let's say somebody is like severely mentally impaired, like they like severe Down syndrome or something like that, right? And they are holding what they think is like a Nerf gun. Like they just think that's the case. Except it's not. It's an actual gun. And they're pointing and shooting at people, thinking that it's a Nerf gun. Like let's say there's an officer there. The officer would be justified in taking out this person, even though they're not intending to actually do harm.
Yeah, as a
But, so we would
preventative
call that
case,
we would call that a
whatever.
moral tragedy.
I agree, but the reason why that's justified is because the Down syndrome person is causing harm to others. But in my hypothetical, the fetus isn't causing harm to anyone. So you should just be saying, I don't know why it's so hard for you guys. You should just be saying, no, it's an elective abortion that causes no harm to the mother. Seen as it's an innocent human life, it's wrong.
I mean,
That's
well,
what you should
considering
be
the fact
saying.
that abortion
I don't know
does
why you
cause
guys
harm to
aren't
the
jumping
mother.
on that and just saying that.
Well,
I don't
no,
know why you guys aren't just
I
saying
always
that.
my answer to that very specific hypothetical that you pose here would be that it would be something to discuss privately with a priest for this very weird edge case. And I would also say, okay, you brought me the strongest case, a non-viable chromosomal abnormality, right? That becomes cancer eventually. So
No, not in this
if I
hypothetical.
grant
Okay.
all, no, not in this one. I'm talking about the one
Then your
previously.
standard
So
of human life must
if I
fall apart,
grant
at least a little bit.
if
You have
if
to
I
add
grant
qualifiers.
no, it doesn't. If I grant you all of these cases, now you have to defend all the other 99.9% of cases.
That's what. Listen, I can defend all the 99.9% of the cases, but if my 0.1% edge case dismantles your worldview, right, then that's a
doesn't.
problem.
I don't think it
Well,
does. I think
you
I
just
just
said
I
you don't-
literally
you
just
don't have
explained
an
that it could go into a
account. You don't
category
have
like
an
a moral
account.
tragedy.
Well, it's not a moral tragedy because the example you used is where a Down syndrome person was causing harm to
I'm saying
others,
that's
but
just
in this
another
hypothetical,
example
the
of the
fetus
okay, I'll
doesn't.
give you another example of the category. If a woman wants to get, okay, let's say a pregnant woman finds out that she has cancer.
Yeah.
From our view, her getting the chemo, we would say she should get the chemo treatment, even though there's a high likelihood that it'll kill, that it'll kill the baby. We would call that a moral tragedy, right? Same thing with the ectopic pregnancy. The orthodox position, the orthodox position on the ectopic pregnancy scenario though too.
You're not engaging.
I am engaging.
With the example.
So the ectopic. Okay, so
the hypothetical is saying that there's no harm to the mother. You have to understand, like.
There's no harm to the mother.
Yeah, I'm saying that let's say there's a pregnancy where there is zero harm to the mother. She just wants to abort because I don't want a baby inside of me. That's her only reason. There is zero health risks again, right? But I'm just saying that like the fetus is guaranteed for whatever reason to die in 10 weeks anyway. Maybe there's just some mysterious.
I would say no. I would say no in that.
Right?
I would say no. Can I pose you a hypothetical though, just because I'm curious?
That's fine, but I just get a clear answer on that because this was leading somewhere and we just took a while to get here, right? You think that would be wrong, right?
At that point, yeah, it'd still be intentionally killing a living being.
And Mo, you also think that would be wrong in this, like?
It goes down to the intent. Like when you clarify that it's no harm to the mother, then yeah, that would change my answer. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what I'm trying to figure out then is like, what would be worse, like the killing of like a 5-year-old child, or the mother aborting this like non-viable pregnancy that's not going to cause any harm to her body?
So we're not utilitarian, so people's intent plays a massive part into this. So here's what I would say, like, okay, so I'm sure
utilitarian either.
I know, but I'm saying, so like Mo and I, the position that we would hold, like we wouldn't, I don't think, at least I know I wouldn't, but I don't think even Mo would be in favor of like, okay, women who were like, from our view, deceived into thinking that there's nothing wrong with getting an abortion. It's not a person. They didn't think that they were killing somebody. I'm not sure we would not want to retroactively punish them for that.
Well,
no.
But like if somebody, but from our view, hold on, but from my view, right? Let's say somebody was fully aware that what they were doing was murder. They were doing it intentionally. They were going and getting abortions just for the funs of it, just for the fun of it. They would just go get pregnant for the fun of it, just to get an abortion. Lock that bitch up. She's fucking psycho.
So so you know what? I actually, well, maybe they're locking up, right? But I actually agree. Listen, I am, you know, like I lean more on virtue ethics than any other normative theory, and I
you should really look into Eastern Orthodoxy then.
Well, I prefer, you know, I actually prefer like care ethics and Michael Slote's view. I think that I find that to be much more intuitive, because I think that orthodoxy and like other types of religious beliefs, one, you have a kind of epistemic problem of like accessing all of the norms, because even now, right, like I can kind of reason my way through my morals based on my prior intuitions.
Well, we wouldn't claim to have access to like, we wouldn't claim to have all access to that, but we can still use our reasoning.
You don't always know how to like, well, it's hard to use your reasoning because you run on deontic systems. So like, you know, you just have to ask yourself like, does this violate a rule? And if you don't know the rule for that particular scenario, then there is no reasoning to reason through. So I find that to be unintuitive, but regardless, like we can come back to that in a second, like if you guys want to. But I just wanted to like just to land the plane here on my point though. Like, sure, you might not be a utilitarian, right? But I'm sure you would at least generally agree, right, that if it was a choice between 1 billion people or one person dying, that even though both are tragic, that it is preferable for one person to die over 1 billion. Like, you'd probably at least say that.
I could grant that for sure.
Yeah, or like if I were to like genocide 10 million people, like that's worse than me stabbing one person, even if I'm bad in both cases.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. So what I'm trying to figure out then, right, is that in the case where it's like the elective pregnancy, I would say that a woman that's kind of like, you know, killing the fetus here, like just purely electively, her reasoning is just that she doesn't want to be pregnant and she wants it out of her body, right? Like, I don't think that she's doing something as wrong as killing like a 5-year-old child.
I think I would tend to agree with you though. But I think Mo would too. I think I tend to agree with you. It's not the same as like walking over and like curb stomping a toddler. But
now the question is, if we look at immoral actions, like now, obviously, listen, I also struggle to separate actions from their actors, because again, if we take a virtue ethics perspective,
intent is important here. Intent plays a massive factor.
I agree that the intent is important, but what I am wondering though is that we can still acknowledge actions as being bad, even if we don't necessarily put normative weight on them. Like, for example, like if an earthquake kills 10 million people, like we can still call that a tragedy and bad, even if we're not necessarily calling it a moral wrong because there's no normative whatever, right? Now, if I were to ask you, like, what would be preferable, right? Either, you know, and again, you have to excuse me for like the extreme examples here, but like I think this is really the test of your moral consistency, right? If you were to ask me what's worse, like a child gets like, you know, sexually abused or killed, right? I think these are both horrible, but I think that being killed is worse. I would say that.
I would agree with you.
Yeah, okay. But then if you asked me, is it worse for a woman to have an elective abortion or for a child to be sexually abused? I think it's clear that the sexual abuse now is much worse. And we're not just talking about the intents of the actor, just the pure act itself, the outcome of a zygote dying versus a child being sexually abused without even looking at the agents. Clearly that one is worse. And I think that that's because my moral intuitions on personhood and consciousness are far more intuitive than yours. So I don't know how you would account for that.
I'm not sure that I feel like so from my view, I feel like honestly I could kind of call these somewhat equal.
Okay, so you would say that it's equal. Like if we had like the IVF clinic, right? You've got like 10 frozen embryos and then one child in the other room. You think it's preferable that the 10 embryos be saved rather than prevent that child from being abused by a predator?
So I'll tell you. I'll give you my reasoning for this.
Cool.
Let me explain. I'll explain. I can actually explain. So from my view, so you gotta remember, from my view, the embryos are people. Like those are persons. And the distinction is with the and I actually rather go back to the abortion example. So the abortion versus the child grave. With the abortion, that baby has absolutely no chance of recovery because there's no recovery from death. Now, would I agree that the child is going to have some serious fucking problems, right? Absolutely. But there's always the possibility of recovery.
Okay, but ultimately, right, you do think that if a fetus is going to die, like if a kid is going to die in 10 weeks, it's not justified for me to kill them now, even if I know they're going to die in 10 weeks, because killing them now is depriving them of those final 10 weeks. They're an innocent person, blah, blah, blah. So similarly, it must also be wrong to kill a zygote or a fetus or whatever that's going to die in 10 weeks, right? These must both be wrong. Now, what I'm saying is that, like, okay, so like, are you saying that, like, let's say there's a child and a fetus that are both going to die in 10 weeks. One of them's like a 5-year-old child and the other one is like, you know, a zygote or a fetus or whatever. Like, it seems to me that it's still worse to you know, abuse the child that's kind of, you know, born and already whatever, versus like killing the zygote. That seems obvious to me.
Well, so when you say worse, the question that I would have for you is, how are we determining worse?
Well, it's very easy for me because my when I say worse, it's indexed to my preferences.
Hold on. Is it logically possible that there would be no harm to the? Is it? I'm not saying good or anything. I'm just saying, is it logically possible the child isn't actually harmed?
Do you think it's logically possible to like abuse a child without the child being harmed? That seems kind of hard to imagine.
I totally think that that's logically possible.
I mean, like.
Yeah, let me ask you something. Okay, let's say a woman's roofied. Hold on. Let's say a woman's roofied and she's unconscious for every part of this and has no knowledge that this event happens. But a woman gets roofied, she gets raped, then she gets put back in the place where she was roofied. She has no knowledge of what happened, and let's say she also has no knowledge that she was ever roofied. To her, she just like dozed off for a second, then she woke up.
That would be wrong, right?
Hold on. Are you saying that she has been harmed? As in, like, she feels like she's been harmed?
She might not be aware of the harm that's been done to her, but ultimately her consent has been violated in a way that we should. But
do you think that's really going to greatly affect her in life? If she just she just like has no knowledge. So like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's totally logically possible for this to happen to a child, and it's like, would I still say that it's bad? Yes, obviously it was fucking bad. The person doing the thing, definitely bad.
Yeah, okay, but in my hypothetical, I'm saying that, like, you know, you abuse the child and they fucking know about it and they're going to be traumatized for the final 10 weeks of their life versus a fetus that is, like, going to die in 10 weeks, but otherwise will just peacefully chill in the womb, and then but you kill it before it has the chance to peacefully chill in the womb or whatever. Like like, you know, you would say if it was a
Yes, hold on.
5-year-old child,
Murder worse than grape. I don't know what part of this you don't get. Murder worse than grape. But hold on, you've
Okay,
asked me a
so
bunch
you
of
are
questions.
committed
I
to
have a
saying that.
hypothetical for you. That I've been wanting to ask you.
Wait, you can ask me that, but just to be clear, you're committed to the view. You're saying that a 5-year-old child that's guaranteed to die in 10 weeks, if they experience like sexual abuse and they're traumatized for this, that this is still a more preferable outcome than killing a fetus that is not conscious, that's like a zygote, that's like guaranteed to die in 10 weeks and will never experience anything. That you're saying that is still more preferable than killing the zygote.
No, I'm not even.
I'm
no.
not saying.
No, I would. I'm not. No, I don't actually have to say yes.
Why not?
Because I can say from my view they're equally just as bad, and you can't tell me.
You don't think that though, because you just told me that killing is worse than rape. You just told me that.
I think that. Yeah, I do think that murder is worse than. Yeah, you know what? I'll just bite the bullet. Sure.
The fact you have to bite the bullet shows to me that this is very counterintuitive to you.
No, it's
Otherwise you would
really
just-
not.
Okay. Well, fine. Okay, sure. So
So
that's
I have
fine.
I have a
I'm
hypothetical
okay
for
with
you here.
biting the bullet. Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So do you think so? Is there any scenario in early pregnancy where you think a woman is unjustified in getting an abortion?
In early pregnancy,
Yeah.
I think if she's doing it out of like an excessively unvirtuous way, then definitely there could be.
What would that mean to be like excessively unvirtuous? Like, what if it's virtuous to her?
Well, I mean, unvirtuous would obviously be indexed to my standard of virtues. Like, obviously, she might have a different standard of virtues, but obviously, you're asking me about my opinions, right? I mean, like, you can ask her and you can argue with her if she has this standard. But from my view, like, yeah, sure, I take it to be the case that, like, look, it might be true that a fetus is not a valuable entity at this time, in the sense that I don't think it can be wronged. But that doesn't mean that we can't necessarily do unvirtuous things to things that can't be wronged in terms of the way that it affects our moral character. And I'm sure you agree because you said that intents matter. So, for example, like if a woman gets an abortion because either she's not ready to be a mother, she's financially insecure, you know, maybe she's concerned about the psychological and physical health risks. I see all of these as perfectly reasonable, virtuous reasons that are conducive to care and self kind of preservation. So these are all completely, even if it's elective, that's fine. If a woman is aborting in the early stages, but her reasoning is like, oh, I just really can't fucking wait to see the little limbs get ripped off in the, you know, I hope that they put a camera up there and record the fetus to watch its limbs get ripped off, right? Obviously, like, the fetus itself isn't the problem, but it's the fact that like she's taking pleasure in looking at something that takes the human form, and it's simulating this kind of like it's simulating what would look like the desecration of the human image in a way that wouldn't be conducive to caring ethics. So in that way, I think it would be wrong in terms of her virtuous character, but the act itself is fine.
Yeah. So I have questions for. So I have a couple of questions for you then. So that's actually that was essentially what my hypothetical is going to be. Is let's say a woman she just likes getting abortions because she thinks it's really fun and she thinks it's fun to kill babies. That's her position.
If she likes to get abortions,
like just for the fun of it, like she goes and gets
Yeah.
pregnant intentionally to get abortions.
Like it's conceivable to me that a woman could get pregnant intentionally to get abortions, but it's not necessarily unvirtuous. But I think that it's likely
It's not
that would-
necessarily
yeah.
unvirtuous.
Yeah, but it's likely that it would be, right? Like maybe she just wants to have the experience out of curiosity, and she knows that there's no harm being done or whatever. But she's not like looking at it like, oh, like I really like I just want to see this fucking thing die. You know, it's not stemming from a place that's like, you know, replicating actual lack of care or lack of empathy or lack of consideration or whatever. So I
have a question,
understand
though,
it's
for you real
nuanced,
quick.
but- Yeah, sorry, go ahead. I don't mean to.
So you said it was around 20 weeks, 24 weeks is when it's considered a person.
Yeah, when the necessary brain structures develop, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say a woman has a miscarriage at like 19 weeks. Is it okay to have sex with that corpse?
What, like of the miscarriage baby?
Yeah.
No, I would have problems with that.
Why is that?
But before I answer that, like this isn't a critique of the pro-choice view, because this is now outside of the domain, right? Because for example, like I assume that you think that killing a human being is wrong because living human organisms are valuable, but you probably also still think that fucking corpses and digging up graves is also wrong, even though those are no longer living human organisms. So you would also probably, I imagine, have a separate view that accounts for like human corpses. That is separate to your view on why you. Yeah, okay. So I would just have a separate view that accounts for that. I would say that if you're having sex with like you know, or whatever it was that your example was, with like you
Well,
know,
I don't
some
get it
type
because
of,
hold on,
like,
I don't get it. How is it
Oh,
a
sorry,
corpse
go
if it's not a person?
I just take corpse to be a dead human body. I don't think that has to be a person.
Wait, so it's so you can be a human. I don't get how you can be a human but not a person, but okay. That doesn't
Well,
that just
that's
doesn't make
entailed
sense to
by
me.
my
That
view
I
before,
know, but
right?
that doesn't
I
make
mean,
any sense to me.
yeah.
That seems like, you know, counterintuitive. But
Well, you should read Derek Parfit and Jeff McMahon's views on the embodied mind account of identity, and then you'll be based and all read up.
okay, so
It will be very intuitive.
so if a
after
woman
that.
just goes to get abortions just because she really likes doing it, that's now unvirtuous.
Yeah, I don't think we should make it illegal because I think it's very hard to like account for these virtues. But I do think that it would be unvirtuous. Yeah, I would say something morally questionable is going on. Yeah.
We shouldn't lock her up.
I think that would be difficult to quantify. I think normally we have to lock people up by the actions they do rather than the character they hold, unfortunately.
Okay, hold on.
Because
So she
there's
gets
no
the
way to read
abortion.
people's
She
minds.
gets the abortion, and then she
Yeah.
takes the fetus, the dead fetus, home, and she uses it for satanic rituals.
Yeah, I think obviously, yeah, there's going to be virtuous problems with this.
Can we arrest her then?
I don't know why you're invoking the law. I mean, maybe there is a threshold where I would say that we can invoke the law, but like I don't know if that's really relevant to the moral question.
Well, a law is just us enforcing our ethics. So
No, that's fine. I mean, look, even if I bit the bullet and I was like, you know, and I'm not saying I do bite this bullet because I'm sure there are different ways we could cash this out. But even if I just accepted that, like, you know, yes, like, you know, we should make it illegal for specifically like demonic, unvirtuous, like fucking crazy bitches to have abortions. Like, this would only account probably, I imagine, for like barely anyone. This would be like 0.01%.
well, it depends on when you're talking. It depends on what your time period you're talking in. But so I also want to go back to one more thing, and then I'll wrap this up quickly, Mo. Was you were saying that, like, you know, like virtuous reasons for a woman to kill her baby would be like, you know, if she's financially unstable or you know, like she like the psychological harm, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Let me ask you something. Can you think of any distinction or can you think of any other scenario where that justification works outside of abortion?
Well, abortion is a unique case because we're dealing with something that is violating someone's bodily autonomy and is a non-conscious entity.
How is it
So if
violating
you can
somebody's
give-
bodily autonomy? Did they get pregnant voluntarily?
Well, even if they got pregnant voluntarily, it's still violating their bodily autonomy. It doesn't change. Like, you might consent to the violation of your bodily autonomy.
How is it a
That's fine.
violation of my bodily autonomy?
Well, because it's something that is growing inside of your body without your consent, right?
No. How is it without consent if it was with consent? I literally just asked you this.
Wait, well, if it's with consent, why are people getting abortions after consensual sex?
I don't know. Fucking ask
Yeah, well,
them.
well-
Most abortions
yeah, well,
are
yeah.
elective.
Yeah, exactly. So clearly, it's not the case that they're consenting to the pregnancy.
Hold
right?
on.
Because
Is pregnancy a very obvious entailment of sex?
It's a possible outcome, an unlikely one if you're having protective sex. But yeah, of course, it's a possible
Sure,
outcome.
but do you know that like the outcome is pretty much always there? Like it's always possible.
That's
for the
fine.
most part.
Consent to pregnancy isn't always consent to sex. Consent to sex isn't always consent to pregnancy.
So hold on. If you consent to heroin, you're saying that if I consent to heroin, I don't consent to the possibility, or I don't consent to an overdose?
Yeah, of course not. If you smoke cigarettes and you get fucking cancer, I'm not going to say, look, you can't be treated.
Yeah,
You
no,
consented
I
to
think
cancer.
I
Like,
think you
obviously,
did
I'm not
consent to the you totally consented to this, so you can't
Yeah,
be like.
you took the risk, but that doesn't mean you can't go and get a medical procedure to get your cancer sorted, right? You agree?
Well, the distinction is that the cancer doesn't have unique DNA. It has my DNA. The baby has unique DNA. It's its own person.
Hey, listen, I agree with that. But as I said to you before, I don't give a fuck about unique DNA. I care about whether or not it's a valuable person. And if it's not, then I just take it to be the case that. It's
Look,
okay
I
for
think that ultimately your view is that you just want to kill people that you deem less valuable than you, and that includes people that are smaller than you. You want to.
No,
You
it's
literally.
obviously not a size thing. I value babies. I just don't value things that don't have any awareness or any experience at all. They've never established any psychological continuity.
I'm not sure that
much
you
like
could actually
rocks or
demonstrate. I'm
flowers.
not sure that you can actually demonstrate that a baby's self-aware.
I didn't say self-aware. I just said conscious.
What does conscious mean?
Conscious means a what it's like phenomenal state.
Did you say a what it's like?
Yeah, what it's like is a way to refer to qualia.
So something that experiences qualia.
Yep.
And can you demonstrate to me that that like a baby at 6 weeks can't experience qualia?
Well, the account that I'm holding to is psychological continuity, right? And psychological continuity would be that there is an overlapping chain of psychological events that are related to one another, right? So when you're looking at like 6 weeks, no, the scientific consensus right now is that there is no qualia, there's no conscious experience occurring because there
Well,
are
then
not
why
the
is it that
necessary
post
parts of the
6
brain.
weeks why is it post 6 weeks Planned Parenthood offers for additional, I think like $45, an injection of painkillers into the fetus before they perform the abortion?
Well, I don't know why they do that. That's obviously very silly because the consensus right now is that a fetus can't feel pain for 28 weeks. So I don't know why the fuck they're providing painkillers. Maybe it just makes them feel more safe because it's like, you know, a
They have
just in
nerve
case
endings?
feeling. But yeah, but nerve endings don't mean anything, right? Like nerve endings mean nothing when they can't be interpreted by the brain.
I
Like,
still
how do you
don't.
think you're actually experiencing pain? Like when I pinch you and you go, ouch, that's not because I pinched your finger. It's because the finger is sending a signal to your brain.
Yeah, so I still see how this is a relevant distinction though. That just because they can't feel pain, or even if just because they don't have qualia, therefore we can kill him.
Well, I mean, I don't understand why it's okay to like smash rocks and pick flowers, but it's not okay to like torture dogs and kill people if it's not for some type of experience that we're interested in preserving.
Plants feel pain.
Okay, well, that doesn't seem to be the scientific consensus. I mean,
yeah, it
plants
does.
might. Well, you just told me that fetuses at 6 weeks.
The
take painkillers 'cause
botanists
they
agree
might
that
feel pain,
botanists
but
agree
that's
that
false.
plants feel pain.
Botanists disagree? What's your
No,
source for that?
botanists agree that plants feel pain.
Oh, yeah, what's your source for
Carrots
that?
feel pain when you pull them out of the ground.
Yeah, what's your source for that?
Because when I picked a dandelion, I heard scream.
Yeah, it yelled at
Yeah,
me, bro.
they
That was my experience. It yelled at me.
I just
Based
saw
on
it as
current scientific
screaming.
understanding, plants do not feel pain as humans and animals do because they lack a nervous system, brain, and specialized pain receptors. So
Not
this
as
is
we
like
do,
the
but when
AI
plant,
overview,
not
which
as
is,
not
like,
they don't feel
cringe
pain like we do, but they do. There's actually there's chemical and physical reactions to a plant when it's pulled from the ground. So it reacts
I
to it being
say
pulled from the
pain,
ground.
Yeah, fine. But when I say pain, I'm talking about phenomenal pain. I don't care
Sure,
about
I know,
like
yeah.
automatic. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? Like the negative experience of like, fuck, this shit sucks. Like that's what I don't like. I
Okay,
don't really
well,
care if like.
I have one more question for you, and then I gotta hop
Yeah.
up because I gotta get to bed because it's
Yeah, that's fine. It's nearly
midnight.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll do goodbyes and shout outs. So go
So
ahead and let's
last
end it.
question. So you're the pro-choicer here. You're the advocate for abortion. Can I ask you what's your favorite kind of abortion?
That's my favorite kind. Well, I think ectopic ones are pretty good.
No,
'cause
that's a
obviously,
type of pregnancy. No. There's different methods of abortion. Which one's your favorite?
You meant it literally. I don't know. I don't really know what the methods for abortion are. To be honest, I didn't know there were so many different ways of doing it. Like, what are the options? Can you give me the menu?
I can.
Oh, well, there's abortions, getting them ripped out. There's a coat hanger approach. There's
Oh, I see. Well, the co-hanger approach
You
seems
know.
very unpreferable, but that would be the approach if your guys' policy got through.
no, we would just like.
So
not
there's
have any-
medication abortion
Yeah, but
usually.
people are gonna get them anyway.
So that's one. Then there's procedural surgical abortion. There's the vacuum aspiration, the suction aspiration. The suction device remove. So what they do is they go in, right, and they crush the baby's skull, and then they start. They
Oh, yeah.
break apart its
Oh, yeah.
limbs, and then
All
they
the-
suck it
all
out.
The emotional loading. Yeah, I remember now.
I'm literally describing the medical
That's
process.
fine. Squish it like a fruit packet.
And then there's the
drop it in
there's
bit.
the
That's fine.
dilation and curettage. The cervix is dilated and the tissue is removed using suction and/or surgical instruments.
My favorite method is the one that the woman wants to do, that she feels the most comfortable with. Because I'm a based feminist. Okay, like I love
Yeah,
women.
I know. It sounds like you
I'm-
are. It just sounds like you have
I
fun.
love it.
Honestly, hold on. I wouldn't put you at just basic feminist. I would actually say that you worship women.
I do worship women. Okay, like I just want women to step on me every day. And
No,
ultimately, that's why I'm
it's totally
feminist.
different. I want women to be able to kill their kids because otherwise they might not be able to buy the next fucking purse that they want. That was literally your
hey,
position.
Buying purses is cool. Like, why the fuck would I want them to experience some type of bodily autonomy violation by this like non?
Oh my god, I know you're so much better than me.
Like-
I don't think that women should be allowed to kill children so they can buy a new pair of shoes. That's
Hey,
fucking
listen,
crazy.
Children, hey, listen, by children, if you're including like fucking like single cell organisms as children in there, then I'm just not going to agree with you.
That's
they're
great. I don't
children.
think that. Okay, hold on. I don't think that women should be able to intentionally end the life of the being inside of them so that they can go buy some new fucking shoes and get a mimosa. That's a retarded position. This fucking infinite materialism is retarded.
I mean,
Like,
Oh,
like
shit,
what
okay.
justification wouldn't work for you here? Where it's just like, look, I can either just like,
I'm not sure.
look, I could either just like go and have an abortion and kill the baby, or I have to downgrade from a Lambo to a Ferrari. Otherwise, I won't be able to make the payments on my Lambo. Because, raising children is so expensive.
All right. Well, I don't know if we've lost him there. I think his audio might be. Oh, he's entered the studio again. So-
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
There's two ghosts.
Can hear you
There's a
now.
ghost
Yeah,
of ghosts.
there's two.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my PC
Go ahead and,
crashed. I had to rejoin on my phone. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
So
We're
what
gonna
was the
wrap
thing you
up
were
here.
asking me?
Yeah, the last thing I asked you
Well,
was like,
we're-
I don't understand the position of saying if a woman is
What
just
were
like
you asking me, Stillborn?
yeah, I was saying like I don't understand.
wait,
How
I
could
can't
you
hear
give
him
the
now.
just? Can you hear me?
Oh,
Oh wait. Oh god. Wait, Mo, can you speak?
yeah. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, maybe it's my audio. Hold on.
I think it is your audio.
Actually, hold on.
I can hear you just fine.
Hmm. So give me just 2 seconds while I try and.
Yeah, I don't think he can. I don't think he can hear either one of us. Give him a few minutes here to see if he can sort out his audio.
Right.
Can
I'll
you hear
just
us now?
rejoin on my PC in 1 second. Hold on. Let me just get the link back up. Sorry about the timing. I know we're gonna wrap up in a sec. I'll let you ask your last questions and so on, if Mo doesn't mind, and then we can. Wrap it
Yeah,
up.
I just got one more. I got one question for him real quick, Mo. I know I said that like 3 times, and I promise this will be the last.
Yeah, it's fine. It's been a good back and forth, so that's why I've kind of like let it go on. But
Well, I
let's,
can't even tell what you're
we'll do-
thinking because you're fucking frozen.
Yeah, I know. I'm just in a constant stoic state right now.
Have you
with my
tried just like
frozen
turning
camera.
off your camera and then turning it back on?
Yeah, I tried that. Yeah.
Can you leave the studio and come back, or will that shut the thing down?
No, I
Okay,
can,
2
but I
seconds.
think
It's just loading up just
let me
now.
see here. Actually, maybe if I restart this, I can get my camera back. Doesn't look like that worked either, actually.
Can you hear us
Unplugging the
yet,
actual
Ghost?
Camera.
Right. Okay. I am rejoining now. Okay. Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, good. Yep. Sorry, that's echo on my phone. Sorry about that. PC kind of cooked. Okay. What were you asking me before I cut out?
Yeah, so I was asking you. So what financial justification is no longer like permissible to you? So it's like if a woman's like, look, I can either go and have the abortion and I get to keep my Lambo, or I give birth to this kid and I have to downgrade from a Lambo to a Ferrari, or I won't be able to afford the Lambo payments.
Look, I generally think that financial justifications to kill people are quite weak, obviously, right? Because I value humans quite highly, but the difference is that I value human persons highly. Okay, and because my account of personhood doesn't include fetuses for the reasons I already laid out, right? like when you say things like, well, why would it be justified in the case of abortion? The reason why is because the fetus isn't a person. So
Well,
so
I just want to ask, can I kill a dolphin?
Much lower. The bar's lower. Huh?
Can I kill dolphins?
I think it's wrong to kill dolphins unless you have good reason to do it.
I just want to. Like, I want to go hunting.
Okay, well, I think
is hunting wrong? Is eating meat immoral?
We actually already kind of went over this. He actually views dolphins as more morally like viable than.
I know, I heard that part. So real quick, so is eating a burger immoral?
So the question of whether or not eating meat is immoral is difficult. But what I would say is that, like, I do think that killing an animal with the intention to eat it, if that animal has some type of phenomenal experience that it is to be valued, and you don't need to do it, then I think that's wrong. Now, obviously, the thing with meat in the supermarket, right? Like, first of all, the meat is already dead. There's a big disconnect between the supply chain of the consumer and the person actually killing the meat. We have like a whole economy structured around it. So I do think it's wrong, and I do agree with vegan ethics. But I don't necessarily think that, like, someone that just like buys a burger and eats it is of the same unvirtuous character as someone that's like, you know, killing a cow for fun and then like watching it squirm and then eating the beef.
Look, I can agree with you saying, like, I think that if somebody just wants to walk over and just, like, you know, shoot a cow in the face because they think it's funny, I would say that there's probably something wrong there, right? Like, so I can actually, but like, and so like,
a lot, yeah.
But not only that, like, from the Christian worldview, I can give an accounting for this. We're called to be the stewards of God's creatures, and we're called to, you know, to be caring to them, not to be cruel to them. So that's like, at least I can give an accounting within my worldview for it, but but like, okay, so I have a question then. Let's say, like, I was in an accident. Like, I was like in an accident at work, right? And my arm got cut off as a result.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want my arm to go to waste. Would it be immoral for me to eat my arm?
No, I don't really see that as immoral, no.
Okay, great. So my follow-up. A 19-week fetus is aborted. Can I eat it?
Yeah, so I think you have to ask yourself, like, in both of these scenarios, what type of person is likely to do both of these things, right? So the type of person that has their arm, right? This is just like clearly an extension of their body. It's just something that...
Look. The type. I don't care about what the type of person who is to do this is. The act itself is the act itself inherently bad.
Oh no, it's not inherently.
Nothing wrong with eating. So it's not inherently immoral to eat a fetus.
No, I don't take that to be inherently wrong. But I mean, well, you have to understand my system of right or wrong. I'm a virtue ethicist, so when you say ignore the virtuous person, you're just asking me to throw away my moral system.
Well, let's say, okay, hold on. I'll engage with your moral system. Hold on.
Asking me, like,
I'll engage with your moral system directly. Hold on. The person is super virtuous in every other cat, like fucking 10 out of 10, always practicing them virtues, man. They're super virtuous, but they want to eat a fetus. Like, that's their one guilty pleasure. Like, they want to do it once.
Okay. I mean, yeah, look, I mean, to me, it feels like it's unlikely that someone that engages in this type of activity would be virtuous. But if you're telling me that it's stipulated in the hypothetical that they are, then okay, I mean, sure. I don't really see anything wrong with...
So you got a real stand-up guy. He's never cheated on his taxes, right? Super, like, loves his wife, takes care of his kids, makes sure he mows the old lady's grass across the street.
Well, virtues can be separate from each other, right? Like, those might all be virtuous, but that doesn't mean that you can't have any vices, right? This could just be one
this is his vice. This is his vice, though. The one thing that he has is his vice.
If it is a vice, then it's bad. It's not a virtue, so it's bad.
So hold on. When I say vice, I mean, like, something that most people would be intuitively against.
Yeah.
But he wants to try it. The fetus is already, like, he's not going out and aborting a fetus to eat it. It's the one that already has been. You know, like the supermarket steak.
Yeah.
Is he doing something wrong there?
So in this scenario, like, I would say that, you know, I understand you're just trying to get me to think if I think it's right or wrong, and I mean, I would just say that, like, it does just depend on the character, and because of that, it is entirely possible you could give me a scenario where it's right, or at the very least, it's like not a problem, at least from a moral perspective. And if anything,
Okay.
I would actually go even further. I would say it's probably a better thing to do than to eat an animal. That was
Okay,
like
well,
once
let's
living and you
go
killed
ahead
it.
and land it there, Ghost, and we'll call it at that.
Okay, yeah, no worries.
All right, so you got any more to say, or you want to add any more to it?
That's it. That's all I needed.
But,
Okay.
I had someone that, I know someone that's requesting to join from the backstage, but I have a feeling they might be a bit late. But he messaged me asking if he can still join.
Unfortunately, this is the extent of it. We've gone a little bit past what the goal was tonight, but I do appreciate you all for coming up. Ghost, appreciate you standing on the panel and having the back and forth. Steelborn, really appreciate you coming up as well. Steelborn, why don't you go ahead and shout your channel out and let us know where to find you.
Yeah, you can find me at Steelborn on YouTube and on X. You can find me sometimes during the week giving cultural commentary on stuff or doing various debates, and then you can always find me over at Verbal Combat on Fridays.
All right, thanks for coming.
All right, thank you.
All right, Ghost, go ahead, and if you want to shout anything out, go ahead.
I can't believe I got him to bite that bullet. Oh, man, that was awesome. I did not think I was going to get him to bite that bullet, but he fucking went right for it. It's totally cool to eat a fetus. That's going to get clipped. That's definitely got to get clipped right there. What was that at? That was like 1 hour and 50 minutes in. All right. Yeah, he thought he had me on there where he was like, what's worse, a kid getting raped or being, a baby being aborted? And it's like, well, from my view, you can always recover. You can't recover from death. So, but I could actually make an argument for that in either direction too, where it's like, well, from my view, you don't actually die when you die, so maybe you can make an argument there, but I just bit the bullet because it was like, okay, I know I can get him to bite a worse one. Remember, we just heard it from Ghost. It's worse to eat steak than fetuses. I mean, even though he's across the pond, these people's vote is equal to yours. Yeah, that's Rex has totally got it here. Murder is worse, but it feels nearly equal because of the deep evil and the trauma associated with it. Yes. That totally makes sense to me. It's like they try and get you on this. Like one of the most common pro-choicer arguments out there is called the burning IVF clinic. No, Rex, he actually said it's worse to eat a steak than to eat a fetus. That was literally something he just said. Hold on, we'll pull up the clip. Said, hold on, the supermarket steak.
Yeah.
Is he doing something wrong there?
So in this scenario, like, I would say that, I understand you're just trying to get me to think if I think it's right or wrong, and I mean, I would just say that, like, it does just depend on the character, and because of that, it is entirely possible you could give me a scenario where it's right, or at the very least, it's like not a problem, at least from a moral perspective. And if anything, I would actually go even further. I would say that's probably a better thing to do than to eat an animal.
Have a good night, resell it. But did you hear that, Rex? It's a better thing to eat a fetus than to eat an animal. That was literally
perspective. And if anything, I would actually go even further. I would say that's probably a better thing to do than to eat an animal. That was like once living and you
go ahead and land it there, Ghost, and we'll call it at that.
Like, what the fuck's wrong with these people? I can't believe I got him to bite that bullet, but I didn't even have to try. He literally was just like, yeah, no, it's totally cool. We can just eat children and that's fine. I didn't know that. Did you guys know this? Like, it's like totally cool to just eat children, according to this guy. That shit's got to get clipped. Like, that's a great fucking clip. By the way, I do have to give a shout out. Not that he's ever going to see this. Yeah, you didn't see that, Resell It? I asked him if it was okay to eat a fetus. And then he was like, I was like, but let's say, like, I just baked in a hypothetical. Like, he didn't go out and, like, abort a baby for this, right? It was one that was already aborted. You know, like the supermarket steak. Like, it's just already there in the grocery store. Is he actually doing something wrong if he eats it? And he's like, I think, actually, like, eating the animal's worse. That was literally what he just said. And I have to give the shout out to, not like I said, not that I'll ever see it, but Congressman Brandon Gill with the what's your favorite type of abortion question. That was so much fun. It's so fun to do that to him. Be like, what's your favorite kind of abortion? And then I literally just started describing how the procedure works. He's like, oh, all that emotional language. And it's like, no, it's not emotional language. This is the actual procedure. Now, I will admit something that this guy was saying. And here's the danger. Everybody was trying to get a contradiction out of him. I wasn't trying to get a contradiction. I wasn't looking to get him to contradict himself. Didn't need to. Either he would have contradicted himself on his own, and then that would have been bad. But I was actually I hoped he would be consistent. Because the only consistent position is it leads to shit like this for the pro-choice side. It's worse to eat steak than to eat a fetus. So it's like, I don't need anything more than you from that. Like, if I can get you to concede on that, you're done, dude. But I gotta get to bed. So, to all of you out there in Chatland, have a great evening and God bless.
I believe in truth, well, my version of it. Facts are fluid, don't be so rigid. Say follow science, then I switch it quick. If it hurts my feelings, it's problematic. I'm inclusive, long as you agree. Different views, that's bigotry. Tolerance is what I preach. Unless you think differently. Don't you dare define a word that's oppressive. Haven't you heard? Language bends when I decide. Truth updates overnight. Proud, just don't say it out loud. My body, my choice, I'll defend. Except when it depends on the topic, on the trend, and the rules will just bend. History's bad, erase the past, but learn from it, just not that. Tear it down, then build it new. Same old thing with a different view. Fall in line, okay. Just think the same, diversity, but not a brain. Be yourself, but not like that. Here's So you